All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the stream. It's Thursday, and I haven't been streaming in a while. Yes, hello, and I'll explain why in a minute here, but I'm glad to be back. I hope everybody's doing well. Yeah, I've got some news as well. So, last time we were programming, we were actually working on the Chapter 4 bosses. And the Chapter 4 bosses, yes, they have to be done, and we'll get back to them, but there's been something that I've hinted at a few times throughout the last few weeks for my project about the unit testing. So the unit testing, up till this point, has been through the CPP unit testing framework, which is Microsoft exclusive. Like, it only runs on Windows, so of course using it on doing unit testing for like my continuous integration just doesn't work out great. And so what I've been looking at were alternative testing frameworks, and originally I think a viewer suggested to me Google Test is a good one, and Catch2. And so originally I was going to go with Google Test. Like, I had a bunch of stuff written for testing purposes, and I had it all configured and such, and things were going great. But then all of a sudden, I tried to do it with, this is like a test, right? So this is like the very first test I do. It's the geometry test. It only requires a utility library, and the utility library doesn't have anything specific to the Pixel game engine. So no real like static linking or anything is required. You could literally just load up this code. It's all inline and everything works fine and great. And so it's like, okay, cool. But then I ran into an issue the moment we started doing anything involving the actual game, because the problem is, and the problem I ran into with the CPP unit testing framework was this project, like the game and the testing project, always had to be separate, right? So because it was separate, what that meant was we had to access all the code for the game via some kind of library, like a static library for our game. So we would have to compile our game and then have that library and then link to that library in order to run our unit tests. And the same case applied to Google testing. So because of going through Google testing, what ended up happening was everything kind of just started breaking, because the way I had it all set up, like the shared library stuff, it just didn't work out. And then not only that, but I would have to configure it through CMake, and it just became a nightmare. Plus, OLC Pixel Game Engine, the headless version, I had a version of the Pixel Game Engine that did not include like a lot of the later features. So I was like implementing them myself, which means the headless version was not keeping up. So for the first time, I had to go through and shape all that. Now, if I go to my Git, which is where my repository is, we can see that I actually have something new here. So we used to have just this workflow. This was build and deploy web build, and that still does the same thing. It builds an unscripted version of the project using Clang, or a modified version of Clang, I guess. It's like it uses Clang. And then we now have a new workflow, and this is unit testing. So the unit testing workflow grabs a Docker container containing GCC on it, and then compiles the game. Now it's like, okay, we compiled the game. How do we run the unit tests? If we look at the bottom here in the output, you can see that AIL test is a Catch2 application, which means we successfully got a testing framework to compile with our game. If I go over to the main function of my application real quick, we'll see there is now an if-def here. And so this define is included whenever we're doing unit testing. So if we ever want to run a unit test, we do this. Now, this macro actually establishes a main function that Catch implements. There is a Catch 3 now, which does this a little differently because it's all like separated header and implementation. But I'm using Catch2, which is the single header version, and why it's advertised so simply and why it's appealing is because of its single header implementation. So looking through this, I'm like, great, this works exactly how we want it to. Like, I'm very happy with how this works. So what we do is we add in a new CPP file into our project, and we just write a test, and the test gets detected by a test adapter in Visual Studio, and you can see it appears here. Now this this thing that says geometry tests in these brackets, that's actually not like default behavior. So you can see I have a test macro here. If anybody has used Catch2 before, you'll know there's like methods like, or macros like test case method. And you'll see here, this macro actually defines or uses test case method. It's a wrapper around the macro. So the reason why I did that was so that we can do some quick little string parsing, and just some macro syntax to make it so the test case name will appear in here. Because as you can see, the way this was done, like, I couldn't get this to populate, so I'm just like, well, that's fine. I'll just put everything in here, and then this is geometry tests. And I'm like, that's cool. So that works well. And what this means is because this is compiled through my main project, I don't need like 2 projects, a unit testing project and a game project. I just have one game project, and the main is defined by this macro. It will adjust depending on whether we're doing unit testing or we're actually running the game. So if I switch over to the release build of my project, you'll see the macro will flip, and now this main function is active again because this macro is not defined anymore. So now I'll flip it back because we're going to be in unit testing today. So with all that background in place, how did this all occur? Well, over the last 2 weeks, I've been trying to get all this to work, which is why originally I was going to go with Google unit testing, but Google test wasn't working out with the static library linking. It was a pain in the butt with the way I had all my stuff set up. And so we now have, inside of our continuous integration, a way to do unit testing and still test our M script and project and still do unit testing inside of Visual Studio all at once. And I'm very happy about this. This is like the ideal scenario. This is where we want to be. So what we can do now is we can start implementing all the unit tests that I used to use inside of CPP unit testing in here, and then, well, we'll just be able to continue on our merry way. So that's the objective of today's stream, is to accomplish a lot of the unit testing that we had before and get them implemented into this new system. Now, it might be argued that, like, all this, like, spending almost 2 weeks getting this set up, plus on top of that now having to migrate all of the tests over to this new system is not only very time consuming, but kind of like a waste of time. But at the same time, I've been wanting this for forever, like an automated way to run unit tests, because the way I have done it in the past and what I've shown on stream is that during stream, whenever we had to talk about something new, I would usually run the unit tests in the background here. But I was a little bit annoyed that I had to always run the unit tests here. What if I was on my Linux computer? What if I was on, what if I was on the go and I didn't really have, this setup? So if I don't have this Visual Studio, or this computer setup, then I have to spend a lot of time actually setting up the Test Explorer on another computer, and it's just really dumb. I was having so many issues with the CPP unit testing framework integration with Visual Studio that I just didn't want to deal with that anymore. So we're moving on to this in the hopes that it simplifies everything. And so far it has. Also, thank you for the follow, Rainy. I appreciate it, and welcome. So, yeah. That's where we're at. That's a summary of what's been happening over the last 2 weeks. I haven't really been streaming the process, mostly because I've just been busy. So this all has been occurring on the side whenever I had free time to just sit down for a minute and work on my project, right? I've been working with my game's music composer, and he has been coming over a few times to help me finish the game's soundtrack. So because of that, I don't really like to stream with guests around. That's, for one, I think it's a little uncomfortable for them, but also, yeah, I just want to spend some time, like, away from streaming, right? So even though I've been working on the project and just been working on more of a maintenance thing on the side, I have been working on it, and that's why I haven't been streaming for about 2 weeks. We'll probably do a few more meetups, so you'll probably not see me consistently streaming, but I'll do my best to be around. And I know folks have been wondering where I've been, like some have asked already, so it's nice that people have missed me, and I'm glad we can spend some time today streaming. So that's fun. So I'm going to start with buff tests. Now, as you can see, I've already added all the includes here, and they kind of just work, except for we have to remove CPP unit tests. That's old. We can remove this using namespace. And then you can see this include game helper does not exist because game helper was a specific thing for the unit testing project. So I'm going to go over to Adventures in Listoria tests inside this directory and just quickly grab the game helper header as well. And with that, we should be able to, we should have everything we need. The cool part about this is it's in the same Visual Studio project as everything else, right? And because of that, there's no worries about like dependency management or like, does this include, will this include work? Am I missing some linked to library stuff? Like all that pain is now gone, and I'm very happy about that. I'm just happy. Like this scenario works a lot better, and it was my goal to make it like all in one project, because I'm like, there's got to be a way, and I'm sure there is for Google Test and unit test or CPP unit test, but unfortunately it's just not like, it's not easy at all. There's so much like abstraction going on. The cool thing about Catch2 is it was a single header, so if I needed to know how something worked, I just looked in that one header file, and that was that. I didn't have to worry about anything else. And that's kind of one of the advantages of like simplicity sometimes. You realize if something's so simple to work with, you kind of have all the answers in front of you, and you don't have to spend a lot of time learning how something works, right? So this is how originally we would set up a test class. This would be called like, there's a name for it, at least in unit testing. I forget exactly what it's called, but essentially what we do in Catch2, if we look at how we did geometry tests, was we set up a class, and the class will be initialized every time we run a test. That's what test case method does. Method is it's going to initialize this test or this class and then run everything. So if we put everything in like either the constructor or make like the constructor call an init function, it will do that for us. So we're going to be making this class called buff tests, and essentially this was all the initialization code that we had to do originally. So we're going to include all this in here. I'm actually just going to copy paste everything in here because this was all essentially a testing class before, so it should all just transfer over. And luckily we don't have to worry about includes too much because everything's kind of already included, minus anything that required those include flags, so we can see that that is now required. So I'm going to include the initialize game configurations macro in there, which defines this global function for us. So down here we have a few other globals that we're using, GFX and damage number list, so I can pull both of those as well. And we're probably also going to need game, so I'll grab that too. And of course we will need the others, but we're going to do this one at a time, a little slow at first to make sure everything's just proper and working, right? So with all this in mind, we can now work on the very first, so again, constructor and destructor stuff. So we can go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and add in buff tests our custom constructor and then our destructor, which was originally a cleanup function when we were done. So add in those two. And then we should expect that we would be able to run this and it would call these, of course. And so now we get to work on the next step, which is we write our unit test. So we start with the test macro. The test macro comes from Catch2, so we have to include that header. Or, yeah, the header is just called catch. And then the first unit test we're going to do is called add monster callback expire function test. So I'm going to add the function test name in here. We can actually now like have spaces and stuff. So originally this was all like, I think you call this like camel case or snake case or something, right? But yeah, we can put whatever we want here now. So that's fun. And then we write buff test here. And so this was testing if a monster callback function continues to exist after an effect has already is gone. So we used require. Require requires a conditional inside, and it will assert if the condition is not met. So before we had these assert are equals, now we get to write require. And before we required, joke, we required that they have some kind of output message. So these functions don't do that anymore, at least normally. So how would we go about outputting a message if something happens? Can we even do that is the question. So let's take a look real quick and see if we can find that out. So how does this work? If I can go in here, that would be great. View code. It doesn't want to pick up on this. Okay, well, I mean, we could look here. Here's the code outputted like that. So let's see here. First of all, it uses VA args, but it's like, does this expand to anything else, really? I don't know. I don't really see anything else. So we might have to look up the documentation for that. But let me just delete these for now, and they should be valid. Okay. So basically, these requires will check if these are true. If they're not equal, then the test will fail. So I'm going to go ahead and build this project now. I don't think it has a cached build, so it's going to have to rebuild from scratch, which is fine. I'm not too worried about that. I'll take a small little break. And maybe we'll do some quick research on if require can have additional comments, right? So let's go to Catch2 documentation. So these are the docs for Catch2. And I think, let's just see if we can find anything that's useful here. So we have logging macros, assertion macros. Let's just start here because maybe there'll be something built in, right? That would be that would be the expectation. So the require family tests an expression and aborts the test if it fails. Check are equivalent, but execution continues in the same test case. I noticed this was a thing for a lot of the testing frameworks. You have one that can assert the moment a test fails, because your test might have multiple test requirements, or it can fail and then continue to run stuff. A lot of our code requires events to happen in sequence. So if one fails and another doesn't, then we run into issues where the state isn't right anyway, so everything else beyond it would fail. So it doesn't really make sense in my case, especially game testing, to really use check ever. So yeah, let's see if there's anything else about this. When comparing floating point numbers, great care must be taken to allow for rounding errors. Catch provides a way to perform tolerant comparisons through the use of a wrapper class called approx. See, now that's good to know because Microsoft's testing framework provided something similar, but it was built in. It was a specialization of the floating point tests themselves. So that's fascinating, but you can use approx. Catch also provides a user-defined literal for approx. It resides in catch literals. Oh, cool. So you could put _a to approximate a float that way if it's a literal. So that's pretty fun. Approx is constructed with defaults that should cover simple cases. Epsilon serves to set coefficient. By default, it's set to epsilon times 100, which makes it a little more lenient than the epsilon would be when you're using it normally. Margin serves to set the absolute value by which a result can differ before it's rejected. Scale is used to change the magnitude. Okay, so that's interesting. Yeah, that's just a fascinating way to do it. Okay, so exceptions require no throw. So expects no exception is thrown, and required throws expects the exception is to be thrown. During evaluation of exception, required throws as expects an exception of the specified type. Okay, so we can either say it needs to throw or can throw a very specific exception. So that's cool. Expressions with commas. Because the preprocessor parses code using different rules than the compiler, multi-argument assertions have problems with commas inside the provided expressions. Oh, that's fascinating. As an example, this template will fail to compile because you're trying to specify the types and the arguments using commas, because the preprocessor sees 3 arguments. 1, 2, 3. Wait, is that not 4? But the macro accepts only 2. There are 2 workarounds. You either use a type def or parenthesize the expression. Okay. Oh, so this actually does fit into this argument. So this is argument 1, standard pair int, no close brace, standard or int open bracket 1, 2, because this is in parentheses, right? And then invalid argument is number 3. That's fascinating. So that's actually good to know, because we're probably going to run into that a few times. So yeah, we just have to keep that in mind, because that is interesting and a tricky case when it comes to using macros. I still want to know if we can add like logging things. So let's look at log next. Let's look at like logging macros. Additional messages can be logged during a test case. The messages logged with info are scoped and will not be reported if failure occurs in the scope preceding the message declaration. When the check fails, in the foo test case, 2 messages are printed. When the last check fails in the bar test case, then only 1 message will be printed. What? When the check fails in the foo test case... Oh wait. When this check fails, because it will fail because it says false, only 1 message will be printed test case start, because it's the only one in that scope? If failure occurs in scope preceding the message declaration. I'm a little confused, because that doesn't really make sense in my head. Like, why is that a thing? Unscoped info is similar to info, but lifetime of an unscoped message is not tied to its own scope, and can be reported by the first following assertion only, regardless of the result of that assertion, limited by the following assertion. So Baz test case prints info from helper, because that's prints some info. The number is 0, the number is 1. Whereas here, with Quux, 2 messages are printed when the first check fails. First info, first unscoped info. First unscoped info message will be cleared after the first check, while first info will persist. Okay, so this will be cleared after the first check, while first info will persist until the end of the test case. Therefore, when the second check fails, 3 messages are printed. Oh, okay, okay. Streaming macros. All these macros allow heterogeneous sequences of values to be streaming using insertion. Info. The message is logged to... Okay, unscoped info and info. Yeah. With... okay. Yeah. Fail. The message is reported and the test case fails. Quickly capture value of variables and expressions. Oh, that's kind of cool. You can output, like, the state of things when a test is running, and it will log them for you. Okay, that's useful. Like, if the test kind of does what I need it to do here, do I really need it to say something when it fails, or when it actually fails, will it just work? You know? So let me just run this test real quick. I'll just run everything. And the test should pass. I designed them so they would pass, but we can put one to be failed and see if it's like enough information for us to work with. Ideally, I wanted to say, like, okay, so this actually failed. So this is kind of nice. Let me see what happened. Will it show up in here? Like, one thing I liked about the previous testing framework was the code lens actually popped them up next to the tests. But it looks like I might have to view them in here, which is fine. I might just extend this window then for my own sake. Can we switch the view? I would like to flip it to layout. There we go. Let's do vertical. Okay, so exception. Let's see. Error log. So it says like something didn't exist. Let me see. Is this like scroll? Okay. I was about to say, like, does this scroll? Could not find or match case for file name. Did I not fill that out? Oops. Okay. Let me go to util line 256. Like, it doesn't help that that doesn't tell me what didn't get filled out, right? Yeah, look at this. I literally didn't put standard format around, like, any of these, which is absolutely hilarious. Okay, so then we can fill in the commas. So, invalid path, whatever, for file name, whatever. So, I wonder why I have 2 things. Like, what was the point? Do I do this? Invalid path, calculated path for the entire file name. And I'm assuming I have to convert them to strings. This doesn't convert to a string. It was already a string. Okay. But here's the nice thing. This does actually just run now without me having to do any extra, like, includes or, you know, like, shared libraries. Oh, I forgot the open parentheses around format. That would be great. And then here, same with file name. So see, now I just go in the actual project's code and I modify it and rebuild, and that's it. Everything's already in this project. We don't have to, like, rebuild a library, which then has to be run by the test project. Everything's great. This system is much better in the sense of, like, rebuilding. So I'm gonna run only this test now, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so it's running now. And still failed, but maybe it'll tell us, like, what's wrong now. I hate that I can't horizontal scroll in this window. That's really annoying with using, like, keys. Speaking of keys, I usually have this guy open. Okay, so cannot find as... Oh, we have to bring... The unit testing system needs all the assets for the game. It does run in a different folder. That's what I gotta do. So, before, they were all in Adventures in Lestoria tests. So... Oh, I deleted all that. That's all gone. Oh wait, maybe they're in here? Unit testing. Yes, they're all still in here. So what we need to do is we need to make it now copy this into bin. I guess we would put it in here, but if we put it in here, no, that doesn't make sense. Okay, so Visual Studio will try to run the executable using this as the working, or this as the working directory. Or is it this one? No, it's definitely this one. So when it says it cannot find or match case for file name assets, configuration.txt, assets, configuration.txt, we're working from somewhere entirely different. So that's interesting. We're in J adventure. Okay, yes, that is the right file. I just want to make sure. Okay. That is a little strange. Okay. Let me just take a quick peek, make sure nothing weird is happening here. So, even though this is the same project, right? Like, is it possible the path settings are different? So, output directory is currently, if we expand this, oh, it does go to unit testing. No, that makes sense, yeah. Okay. So it does go to unit testing. I guess that's a good thing. That keeps it, like, kind of separate, right? Oh yeah, okay. I see what we're dealing with now. These are just the specific things that we use for, what do you call it? For unit testing. So I'm going to take everything in here. Wait. Okay, that's definitely not what we want. Okay. So what I want to do is copy. Don't we have a script for this? Maybe it's gone. Okay, build events, pre-build event. Okay, oh, that runs the version thing. Okay, so what we need to do now is we need to add another build event. And we had this before in the old unit testing, what do you call it? The old unit testing project had a build script, like something that would copy over everything to the testing project. Here it is. So unit testing pre-build. We have looked at this before, so it's essentially just copying everything over to the unit testing executable. So this just didn't, or the place where the unit testing executable is located. So we need to run this PowerShell script when we build. So we can just say this is a post-build event and pretty much do this. Just do post-build event, PowerShell, file is unit-testing-prebuild.ps1, and that should run when the build finishes. So I'm just gonna hit build. It's gonna do that again, and then it should have copied the folder the moment it's done building. So just wait for that to finish. It has failed the command. What? It says the command. The command what? The command failed? Is that not a valid, like, command? Like, what? I mean, if I'm looking at this, this is like exactly the same thing, right? Post build event, use and build, yes. Like, what? The command. Like, it didn't. Oh, maybe it just like produced an error, but it ran. Okay, let me see. That might have been what happened. It's just the command produced the error. Because of. I don't know. Maybe because this folder already existed, so it couldn't do any... Like, let me just try to rename this, right? Will the PowerShell script run now? Oh. This is not set up right. Like, this screen that is shown right now is not where my mouse is. Everything else looks right? Okay, so it's just number... I guess number 2. It's like a... The streaming thing is messed up. It should be... This one? There we go. Fixed. Just a minor thing. Okay. The command VC end exited with code, so it was a negative exit code, so it definitely wasn't good. Did it do anything? So it didn't do anything either. I'm a little confused, but let's see. If I just run this, like I run this command, it's kind of weird, right? It has like dots here, but I would think if we ran the command, it would be in here. So if we were to follow the path, why are we doing dot dot? That doesn't really make sense, right? It's as if it was expecting us to be in here when it's running that PowerShell script, but we're in here. At least that's what makes sense to me. Let me check what the version script does. Because, oh, you know what? It's probably reading the script from in here. Because I'm not seeing, yeah, update version, okay. So that's what's happening. We need to run that script. So it is running in here, but it's looking for that script. So that script doesn't exist. That's why the error is there in the first place. Got it. Okay, so we go like this, dot dot slash. And now it will be looking in the previous directory. I think this all still makes sense, so we'll leave it. And we'll try another rebuild. And then hopefully we're good now. Okay, succeeded. And let's look inside of here. Nope. I can delete that folder, I think. Okay, so we now have an assets folder. I'm just gonna copy, paste these guys back in here, because they are specifically like testing files that need to be included. And everything should be in place now, so that error originally from the test explorer should no longer occur, and we should see if it's gonna error out now, it's not gonna be because it's missing a file. So that was just me forgetting that that was, you know, required in the project, right? Happens. It is what it is. Okay, so this test now passes! Yay! Okay, good. So that's good. Let's just try to fail it real quick. It's literally just a transfer over from the previous unit test, like, setup, so it should have passed. It was written to be passed. So if I try to run it now, once this rebuilds, we can try a failure just to make sure the fail works. And I want to specifically see what the fail produces. Like, what does it look like when it fails? Does it give us enough useful information so that the next time we need to visit it, we at least know, hey, this is what it looked like. I'm really glad that it provides a standard output, because the CPP unit tested framework did not, which actually really annoyed me. So this says it fails. It says exactly what condition failed, and it tells us what it expanded to. So I really like this. This is actually beautiful. Oh my god, this is super amazing. Okay, good. I really, really like this. So we get to stick with this, and then now we're gonna go back to our tests, and we're gonna start integrating all the other tests. So I think we're at the point where we can just say, okay, bring all these guys over, all the tests from before in buff tests, and we are going to change them all to now fit the new test system. So let's get started on that. So I'm going to start with a multi-select on all these guys. The macro is called test, so we'll cut that down. We have to add the class in front of here. Then we provide a name. It's supposed to be a string. And then we change all of these assert are equals to be require. And then all of these first arguments inside the requires now become equal signs. Now, if they're Boolean comparisons, we can just shorthand them. So maybe I will do that for the sake of simplicity. I think that would be good. All right. Hopefully I got most of them. So anything that said like false equals or true equals, we're actually going to do a full find and replace on that because that should be possible here. Because it was always the expected followed by the actual. So the order for these should be correct. So I should be able to put a not here. And then for the trues, I should be able to put nothing. And those should resolve. At least I hope they resolve. And then finally, all these comments have to go away. So I think we'll go for another. I should have probably kept the multi-select and took care of that first. I don't know. I can't think of a good way to get rid of these. Like, I'm probably gonna have to use like a regex thing. At least if I would have liked to do that. And I don't know regex, so we're not gonna do that. I think what I'll have to do is multi-select from here and just cut them off, which is fine. Plus, I think it would take me longer to write the regular expression than to just get rid of these in the first place. So we're just gonna do that. It's one of the things I never really learned. I never really learned regular expressions. I just think they're very cryptic, they're very hard to use, they never do what I need to do. And when you're done with them and you leave them in your code, they just look dumb. You have no clue what what your intent was unless you write out a comment for them. So if regular expressions require comment, why not just write verbose code that actually tells you what it does? That's just my opinion on it. Let me try building this now, and we'll go ahead and run all these tests. And they should all pass, because the behavior should be identical to the old tests. Okay. So, as we can see, it detected new tests. We're going to go ahead and run all these now. And hopefully they all pass. We can see the duration for these tests are about the same as before, which is pretty much expected. It has to boot up a version of the game and then run anything related to it. So that part still applies, which is fine. Ooh, you know what I want to try? I want to try running these tests in parallel. I wonder if that's supported. Like, we do have it checked. Maybe you have to do like a certain flag to make them actually work that way. Yeah, I don't... Let's look at the run settings. So, to initially set up Catch2 to work with Visual Studio, like the adapter, you have to provide some things here. Oh, so I did put execution mode as single, and I was kind of... It seemed like the right thing to do, but let me just clarify why. Because what I think it tried to do was it was like, okay, keep a version of the executable open, and then just like run certain things over and over. And I don't think that works for my project because we use global variables. Like this right here is a global, everything I did up here, these includes, these are all global, right? So imagine you're changing the state of these in one test and then you're accessing them in another test. I don't think that works, because I don't think even if you run them in parallel, they produce individual instances with their own state. At least that's what it sounded like. So we need to look at the run settings for this test adapter, which I don't think is in here. I think we have, not in the official docs for Catch, but we need to look at the Catch2 adapter log docs, because that's a whole different project. That's a whole different thing. Okay, so this was for... We're looking for execution mode. So if I just go to execution mode... So it says we can combine a single test executable is started to run multiple test cases. So that sounds like to me that it's going to run all of them using the same state. So I'm pretty sure if I switch from single to combine, my test should start failing because it's going to try to modify data structures that are global among all of the entire project. They're like global variables. To me, this sounds like you can't use this if you have global state, which is an unfortunate part of me designing things the way they are, but is is what it is, right? But you can see they're now running all at once. And they don't even finish, which is also fascinating. Oh, that was another thing. If they... Okay, it looks like everything just ran in its own, like, thread or whatever. Okay. I mean, it clearly took longer for the results to come out, but I think it was, like, just, like, batching them together or something. But no, this looks entirely normal. Wait, so can I just run my tests in parallel now? That would save so much time. Let me try a failure just to make sure, like, this isn't, like, you know, this isn't a premature success, right? We need to make sure it can actually... I want to see what a failure looks like if they're run in parallel. But this is very exciting because this means we can save so much time during testing. But you'll... Oh, wait. But you'll actually see... Yeah, the test took time. It took 14.4 seconds. So does running in parallel just mean we're just waiting for all of them to be done anyways, but they're ran separately? Isn't that a little strange? Like, doesn't that defeat the purpose? Like, I don't understand what this is for then, right? Like, is the combined time here 16 seconds? Like, what is this? 2.6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? 2.6 times 5? Plus 2.8? Probably with some rounding error, right? Like, how would this... For each test case, a separate instance of the test executable is started, and this one a single test executable. So maybe it's more like the runner itself. Maybe that's why it can't display results until everything's done. Which could be a bad thing. Like, why not just start it up over and over? It's not like it's expensive, right? So if I wanted the result of a test and wanted to know instantly if it failed, I think single actually makes more sense here. I'm gonna undo that change so it passes again. Like, to me, that doesn't help me. Like, if I just have to wait for everything to finish and it's gonna be run sequentially anyways, why am I running them in parallel? That doesn't make any sense at all. Like, right? Anyway, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and do a commit, and then this is gonna be the first pull request. So this whole, this branch, oh wait, not pull request, but first commit for this unit testing. So this branch is specifically for the conversion. So we're gonna convert all the unit tests today, run them, make sure they all pass, and then submit it. Actually, we can't pull request anymore without them all passing, which is a good thing, right? Because now it's part of our CI/CD framework. So if this doesn't pass, we can't do pull requests anymore, which is a good thing. Also, Tilo, thank you for the follow. Welcome. Okay. I'm just very excited. So, buff tests rewritten, or what do we call this? Migrated? Yeah, buff tests migrated. That's literally all we did. This is release build 13440. Cool. I'm happy. I'm very excited because this is this framework is really nice and it's very simple and it just works, and it works with my project and my use cases. I'm very happy to have found this, because what I was worried about and what might have become a project for the stream was, am I going to be writing my own unit testing framework to include a test adapter? Like, I looked into that and I'm like, that's not easy, because that you have to actually write it in C#. So I'm like, damn, that's gonna suck. Like, no hate on C#, but I'm just rusty at it, so I would have not had a good time overall. But this is working the way I want it to. It has the features I need, and it's beautiful. It's super beautiful. Alright, so what's the next unit test we're implementing? Or migrating? We're migrating... This is good, actually. We're making good time, too. I might actually be able to migrate everything today, which is beautiful. Okay, effect tests are next. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'll just copy the whole file over. Like, there's no reason for me not to at this point. We know the migration process is very simple. We actually don't have to change that much. Surprisingly, everything just kind of works. So remove this, remove this, and then back tests. Okay, so we don't use this namespace. In fact, let's just get rid of that. Test class becomes class. I've switched to using plural, so this is gonna be effect tests. You can remove the extra curly brace. Or no, first we got close it here, get rid of everything down here. Add a semicolon right there to close the class out. Then this initialize function becomes the constructor, which does all this. And then we have this becomes the destructor, like so, which needs to be included in the class as well. These guys are inline. And then everything else gets bumped back. Replace test method with test. And then replace all asserts are equal with require. And then all of these commas have to be changed to double equals. I think I can find replace that too. I just have to be a little careful because it's like, how do I select that realistically? It's like there may be a couple to move of. Maybe we delete the strings first and that'll be easier. Because then I can actually do... No, we're gonna have to do all this kind of manually. I'm gonna have to like multi-select like this. Is there can I do a drag multi-select? I know I can't. Oh, there we go. But I can only do it. I can only do a drag multi-select for one selection. One selection range. Can I do like a... Like, that's dumb. Hold on. Can I do it in Visual Studio Code? I feel like Visual Studio Code handles this better. Let me try that. So... what I want is to be able to multi-select drag, which makes this much simpler. Maybe a middle click? Holding Control? Alt? No, it doesn't let me multi-drag select. Oh, hold on. Shift? Shift is doing like a whole range. Is it just not possible? Do I really have to like select each one? Each range individually? That's kind of dumb. Why is that not a thing? I can't multi-drag select multiple ranges. Yeah, there's no combination of this that's working, unfortunately. The best I can do is this, but then like I don't want to adjust every single line, so that's not helpful. And I still can't do multiple regions either. That's upsetting. Because that would be a lot easier. Alright, anyway, time to single click all of these. I might be able to write like a small program to actually do this for me. Find the first comma, replace it with double equal sign. That's not actually that hard to do. Let's do that real quick. So let's... because we can use this for the rest of the conversion process too. Let's write a quick program that does this for us. And it's always that funny thing of like, okay, we're gonna write a project that's going to help us do the thing. We could have just done the thing and it would have been way faster. But it's like, what do we call this? This is like a comma replacer. Okay, just something dumb, right? Okay, so we're just gonna write a comma replacer real quick. We're gonna accept an input and we're gonna convert the commas to double equal signs. Maybe we can even be more generalized. Maybe it won't be a comma replacer, but it'll be like a token replacer. We search for a token, replace it with another token. I guess that would be fine. So main.cpp, and then let's make our main function We're gonna say, we're gonna read in a file, so it'll be an if stream. The file we'll read in, we'll just call this input, just to keep things simple. And then we'll have to write out to another file, or we can do it in cout. I'll just write out to a file. That's easier. So output, file. Let's call it output. And then for the input, we're gonna do while file good. Do a standard get line. We're gonna need a temporary string to hold the value of that line. And we provide the stream and the string it's getting written to. And then we have to find the first comma. So we're gonna do a size t comma marker. And if the line doesn't have, I guess we're looking for any lines that start with require. So it has to start with requires. So if line dot starts with, but there might be white space, right? Because there is going to be white space. If I make a new font, if I put this in here and like paste, where'd my stuff go? Effect tests. Yeah, let me copy this. So there might be white space. So can we like trim the white space? Or we can specifically say, look for tab require. I'm just gonna hard code it because I don't really want to spend the time right now, right? But it could be different. What about, does starts with account for white space? Let's take a look. I don't actually know. I don't think it does. We could do contains. String contains would work. Line.contains require. If line.contains require, then we're going to find a comma by doing standard, or not standard, line find. We can say find first of, right? Or we could just do find because we're at the beginning of the string anyway. And we're looking for the character or string comma. And then if comma marker is not equal to the end of the line, or as in if it was found, if a comma was found, then we're going to, let's see, what do we do with this? We're going to replace the comma. So it's going to become line is going to become equal to line substring from 0 to the marker, because marker is the length, so it's not going to include the comma. Append a double equal sign, and then line substring from the comma marker, or no, it'll be whatever comma marker is plus 2, because double equal sign takes up 2 space. No, because we're still referencing the old line value. So comma marker plus 1 to the end of the string. Right? Hi Amy, good to see you again. Hey there, Medgard. Nice to see you too. I know it's been a little while, but we're back and we're converting unit tests today. Yeah, fun. Right now we're actually writing a program to help us do that a little easier. Okay, anyway, so if a comma was found, convert it, line has been modified, output the line to the output file. So actually let's define output file up here, and regardless if the line has been changed or not, we're basically doing input to output. So output file, line. I don't think the new line character is included, so let's just do standard end line there. And then that's pretty much everything for this program. So then we just need to put our includes. So we're going to include if stream. Actually, let's just include fstream because we need both input and output. Let's include, it looks like we'll need, oh, I forget where getLine comes from. IOStream? No, I guess we'll also need string. So we'll just provide bog standard string. Contains, I think requires C++ 23. So let's up our C++ standard to 20. I'll just put latest. That's fine. So that should be good. Let's go ahead and try building the project. Build succeeded. So let's go ahead and try running it by putting a file inside of there. Source, comma replacer. It's going to be running in here. I'm just going to make a new input file. Go ahead and open that real quick with Notepad, and we'll just paste what we're trying to replace here, like so. And then we'll go ahead and run the program, and it should produce an output file. So here's our output. It looks about the same size, which is what we would expect, but all the require lines now have double equals. So then we can take the output and we can put it back in our effect test.txt or CPP. And then we're pretty much almost ready. We just have to get rid of the... So maybe we should modify our program some more to do the whole... Oh wait, what? Paste... Did I not copy? Copy? Wait, that's input. Where's output? Copy. Oh, I gave it the wrong input. This is not... Oh, I guess we just have more to do, that's why. Paste. Okay, the requires are changed. I didn't fix the... I still have to do test stuff. Okay. So let's replace test open parens with test open parens. This is effect tests class, comma, and we're gonna do open parentheses, and then we're gonna go to the end of the lines there and add the close quotation mark for the strings. C++ 23 has a huge standard library. It's not C with classes anymore. Oh no, I think it stopped being C with classes even in 14. If we're being realistic. Yeah. Okay. So that should fix the test macro? Question mark? No? Why does it fix the... Oh, we have to include catch. It doesn't even know what test is yet. Or it's thinking of a different test. So I do have a function called test, but it's not that test, it's this test. So then require, we have to get rid of these. Now maybe I can write the program to get rid of these as well. It could look for... So it would be looking for a second comma. And for the second comma, it's deleting everything until the close parens. Yeah, okay. Or maybe we just look for, search for comma L. That would actually be easier and more dynamic. So let's modify our comma replacer project, which is no longer a comma replacer, strictly, and let's look for that. So if line contains L, open quotation mark, oh, open quotation mark, then we're going to grab that. And also this is redundant, right? If we know a line contains something, we don't have to check if it was found, because we know it's going to be found. We made sure it existed in the first place. So that's a little, like... That's a little extra. Okay, so this is the string marker. We're gonna find L open quotation mark. And then we're going to take everything until the end of the line. End of the line minus 2. And delete it all. Okay. End of the line minus 2, delete. So line substring, everything from 0 until the string marker, and then add everything from... Oh, you know what? We can actually mask this out, right? Or we can just write the last few characters. We don't even have to, like, do anything else. Okay, I like that better. Let's just do that. So this plus this. And that takes care of that. Okay. So I should do it. Let's try this again. So build the project, go to... Let's provide a new input. These guys. And put that inside of here under input. Let me just open in Visual Studio Code. This will be way easier. Paste, Save and then run. Oh, don't run this. No! Don't run that. Run this one. Okay. And then output should now contain something that's more sensible. Oh. Well, that's not right. What happened? Oh, it tried to find another comma, didn't it? Damn it. Okay. Alright, I have a better idea. Okay, so normally I would want to run these in tandem, but not this time. So I'm just gonna run the program like this. It's gonna reproduce the output because I didn't change the input. And so now it kept the comma. I forgot about the comma. So we have to get rid of that. So we're actually gonna do string marker -1. Run that again. Now there's a space. Why is there a space? The space doesn't matter, but I don't want it to be a space. Is there really a space? What? Okay, hold on. Why is there space? Effect. There's no space here, right? So it would have been... I just did -1, so it would have started... Or it would have ended right here. Why did it add a space? I don't know. That's a little... Wait, what? Uh-oh. Comma L, whatever. Till the end at those two. Like, I'm confused why the output is inconsistent right now. Like, the commas are still there. What? What? I gotta have to debug this. If line contains L... quotation mark, which, right, then find that, do string marker -1 substring plus these two characters. Okay, I'm a little confused, so let's go ahead and debug this. So let's go ahead and get to where line is read, and let's just go down to, in this case, the line we want to debug is, heck, even the second line, like, okay, so when we look at the second one, so line equal, oh, I should probably do, there we go. So I wanted this, so I wanted to break point here actually, and so you can see here this has the L and the, wait, the string itself has a backwards / quotation mark. Oh. So when you do get line, it puts them with the... What? Really? I did not know that. Okay. So we have to search for L / quotation mark, which is a lot of escaping for no reason. Yeah, it includes the escape character, which is even more funny. Okay, so now it should actually find it, but it didn't. What? I'm so confused. Is the back... Wait, but it's also showing /t, right? Like, is it just visualizing it for me? Is that what it's doing? Like, I'm so confused. Wait, what is this? Text visualizer. Expression is line. Wait, why does it say line is this? Is it outdated? Okay. So this is what the contents actually contain. So no, I'm not supposed to search with the escape characters. Okay. So it's supposed to look like this, right? I don't know why it was showing me, like, it's showing me an out-of-date... What? I'm so confused right now. The input says this. Why is it saying line is this? Okay, see how the characters in the string show like test whatever, but this isn't the output. What is it doing? I'm gonna close this. Yeah, something was wrong with that, whatever that was. Okay, anyway, next line contains string marker. Wait, what? Huh? Line. Okay, that's correct. So should have outputted it, right? Output. Okay, it probably needs to flush. It probably doesn't do it until the end. But logically, I think it's working. The AC line here is okay. It is working, right? So I ran it, and the output, does this just not update? Is that what happened? Like this file is not updating, and I've just been dumb this whole time? Oh my god, that's so dumb. Okay, I was just being silly. My code worked fine. Okay, anyway, back here. So... Alright, so essentially we made something to do pretty much everything we wanted it to do. Some of these are still failing though, so I need to figure out why. Like, member is inaccessible. Oh, okay, so some of these used friend classes and stuff so that they would be, like, accessible. So we're gonna have to do that now. Oh. Lamau. Okay, so... First of all, I completely forgot about the assert not equal. Also, there's... Okay, so we get to use expect exception now. So there's like a require throws. Throws as, which lets us specify what the exception type for whatever expression we give it should be. So we would be running this expression, which I think has to be a function. Because it doesn't make sense if I do this. At least... Maybe it wraps in a function. Let's just try it. In the old unit testing framework, it wouldn't... Okay, it's not complaining, so maybe it likes that. I'm just gonna try it like that and see what happens. That's cool. And then we got not equal, which is simply just the same thing, just put not equal to. And then... is true. Yeah, we just have a couple, like, sometimes I was just inconsistent with, like, what I did here. Okay, cool. So now we just have to make the members that are hidden visible. So, like, slot ID is not visible in effect ref. So we're gonna have to go in that class and add a friend class. So we can see here before we had, like, friend class effect test, which has a namespace. We can just give her the namespace part and put effect tests and declare that it exists somewhere in our program. Okay, and then what else are we missing? Those shouldn't be errors anymore unless it still doesn't like that. Effect ref t slot ID is inaccessible. Specifically, oh, they're private. Wait, but if this is a friend class, effect tests, that should work, right? In theory, can I just build this? Will it stop? Oh, we gotta do a full rebuild. That's fine. I just did a header, so that's very fair. I'm really liking this framework though. It's very simple and it's working out very well. Oh, also, I guess I can show, since we did that last commit, I can just show that it, the test ran on our actions pipeline. Oh, apparently it ran and failed somehow. Did I, like, give a bad build? I committed something bad? What happened? CPP unit test H file not found in game helper. Oh, there's just a bad... I think when visual MSVC is just like, we don't care if you put includes we don't use because you don't use them, obviously, but apparently this cares. So let's go in game helper. Can we... Game helper, thank you. And okay, yeah. Like, it didn't complain here about it, so of course. I love how easy it is to understand. Yeah, this is super nice. Super duper nice. I assume this failed for the same exact reason. Yeah, same thing. So both GCC and Clang are like, hey, why are you including a file that doesn't exist? Oh, of course, because in Microsoft, the header does exist, so including it has no consequence. So that does make sense. Also, this build failed. Why? cannot access private member declared in class for effect test, so it still sees it as private. So these friend classes are not working out? I wonder why. It's a little strange, right? I'd expect it to, but if anything, I could just expose them. I don't see why not. I don't really want to, but for the sake of testing. Okay. Oh, I have an idea, actually. We have a solution to this. Only private, if not defined. I feel like I should make a macro of that, like private or expose for testing or something. No, wait, if defined. But yes, we do have a solution to this. I think what I'll do is, yeah, I'll make like a private. Just make a private macro. I kind of like that. Just make a private macro. Will that work? I think I ran into an issue where you can't put like this keyword in a macro or something. Define. But it's just literally pasting text. Like, why would it have a problem with that, right? Assuming the macro syntax is correct, I should be able to write this, right? Yeah. And then I can continue that with if not defined unit testing private. And if. No? Hash not expected here. Oh man. Wait, we can't do that? Can I like escape it or something? Either escape it or like combine tokens? I don't think that would work. Okay, well, if anything, I can just... It's a very special case, right? So... I'm fine with putting that there. Like, that's not really an issue. Okay, we'll just do it like that. So if... oh, excuse me, this should be not defined, but yes. If not defined unit testing, then add a private keyword. That way it's not accessible normally. Only for unit testing purposes. So now... what's the last error? Last error is a lifetime on effect. So we'll probably have to do the same thing. So you probably just have a friend class on it or something. Hello? Doesn't know where this is. I think it's under effect T. No, don't. This is a... It's been a minute. This is an effect manager get effect, which is... It should be effect T, right? Get effect returns... Oh, it literally just returns effect. So lifetime... No, a lifetime is not visible. Okay. So we can do the same thing, right? We just say... Well, let's see this. If not defined, unit testing, end. If. Okay, so that should fix that. This should now compile? Question mark? Lifetime is, I think IntelliSense is just being slow. I'm convinced we've done it. Because get effect should return an effect, and thus this is the effect class, so we should be good. Let me just see again. So effect manager, effect data, effect T is literally just the variant, so yeah, it should be good. Yeah, it's just been a minute. Oh, this is fun. And then with all the unit testing redone, now I don't have to worry about knowing if my unit tests are failing or passing like days after I've caused an issue, because I would have to like constantly remind myself to try unit testing every day after running my project, which sometimes or building my project, which sometimes I would forget. And then we just let some test, like, what would you call it? Some errors, like cause regressions, and then I would have to figure out, okay, what changes did I do over the last, what, week? cause this error to occur. Like, that's kind of counterproductive and for unit testing, right? So automating that and having a workflow that's constantly checking for that every commit is amazing. Oh, I guess I get to show you all how long it took me, or the troubles I went through trying to get this all set up in CMake as well, because if we look here, with the number of actions that exist, it's like, this literally tells a story, right? So it's like, add new Google test project to solution. Last week. Okay, great. And then we get to here where it's like, okay, add test support to the build, mscript must follow different rules, clear CMake cache, include a test.sh, headless mode is required, add a test only option, pipe. Add unit testing to test only CMake compiler definitions, no test discovery, blah, blah, blah. You can see how many pains and tribulations I went through over the last few days to finally get this all set up. This is a very, like, typical, like, oh my god, please work. Why is this failing kind of situation. A lifetime cannot access protected member declared in class effect. Oh, it's effect types. Oh yeah, it was a doozy. Also, I just realized the protected flag now drops all the way down, which... that's annoying. I guess we have to else it. Else. Okay, so we'll else it with public to make sure other tags don't bleed down. And I guess I should do the same here, because I'm sure that's going to happen sooner or later. I'm going to add something above, and then my unit tests are going to stop compiling. So yeah, might as well do it now. Okay, so there's that. Rebuild. I can sense the frustrations. Oh yeah, like, it was bad. You eventually get to the point where you just start putting very ambiguous, like, 2-word or 3-word things, right? Include free type anyways. Quotes instead of arrow brackets. Webhook update should always send. CMake required. Remove running normal CMake command. GCC should not be building script inside. Add missing standard C++ EXPs to the backtrace. God, it was terrible. Eventually I was just like linking. Absolutely insane. Watch what changed. It's just like some change of directory linking. Yep. She's like, I give up. But yes, finally got sold with forgot quotation marks. Classic. So yeah, I was very happy. It's like, of all things, right? Did I join it at the wrong time? Oh, I was just showing what's been happening over the past, like, week and a half that I've been gone. Like, so I've been gone, but I've been working on my project on the side, trying to switch over the unit testing framework. So I was just showing, like, all the frustrations I essentially went through trying to get to work. It's like, okay, build fail, build fail, build fail, build fail, right? Over and over. With all sorts of random things not helping or happening. Okay, this was old, so we're gonna change this now to require this. We don't need the string part of this anymore. And yeah, that should do that. We are gonna have to include catch though, if we're gonna use that. Catch.h. Cool. And it's a template class, so it actually shouldn't require like a full rebuild. I hope. But no, that was just the trials and tribulations I went through last week, getting this new testing system set up. I'm just glad it's over. Honestly. That was like a huge, huge, huge issue before. Okay, so we just had to compile. So we have new tests. I'm just gonna run them all, because why not? And we'll make sure they work, and then we'll submit. Just... lighting not doing me favors right now. Was making my own RPG game, still work in progress. Had to deal with matrices and all of that math translation bogus. That was not fun. Oh yeah, no. I could totally see that. That is definitely not fun, no. Well, we can all share our own project pains together. Yeah. Gotta love programming, right? Alright, everything passed, so we successfully migrated effect tests. I'm gonna go ahead and commit this now. Effect tests migrated. And hopefully that thing about the CPP unit tests is no longer an issue. I just have to make sure to keep getting rid of it because Visual Studio will not catch it because it's a Microsoft thing. I'm sure there's a way I can like exclude it, but I'm not gonna worry about it right now. I just have to be vigilant. Okay. Do you use ECS? I do not. For this game, I am just using arrays of pointers to instances of monsters and objects. So it's a very traditional, not super performant method, but it does work. Yes. It was a design decision I made consciously near the very beginning of my game project. I'm just gonna aim for simplicity. I'm not really gonna spend time making a complex object management system. The irony of that, though, is that when we got to the effect system, right, we're like, okay, we're gonna go super complex. We're gonna make a variant visitor system. So yeah, we ended up doing something crazy for that. But that's because effects, like especially small particles that we're gonna spawn thousands of, have to be performant. So it made a little more sense there, and it kind of fit the paradigm of me still using object inheritance. So the visitor pattern just speeds up the object inheritance thing, so we don't have to do indirection constantly, which is nice. Okay. Do you use spatial grids? Actually, no. The only thing we do is a distance check before any complicated logic runs. So it will always iterate through every object, but it will cancel out immediately if the object's too far away, which is fine for our purposes. Okay, so next set of tests is... we are on enchant tests. Ooh, this is a big one. Okay, so this one, I think it's got at least like 60 tests in it. It tests a lot of like player enchantment stuff because making sure those still behave consistently is actually very important for the game. It's all gameplay related and it all has to function, so I spent a lot of time writing unit tests for them. Enchant tests. So we're gonna be working on those next. Alright, so first thing to do again, convert the class, get rid of CPP unit test, include Catch2, or excuse me, Catch. It is Catch2, just the header's called Catch. Get rid of the namespace, replace test class with class, add a S to the end so it's plural. Condense this a little bit. We're going to get rid of the closing braces at the bottom. Add a semicolon to the end of this class. For the initialize function, it becomes the constructor. Like so. And then I'll just add the inline keyword. And then we have cleanup, which is going to become the destructor for enchant tests. Oops. Okay. Did I mess up? Something's not right. Class, oh. Yeah. Get rid of that, because that was a macro before. Cool. So that's that. The indentation's kind of wonky. Alright. And then we have these guys, which, let's back up a little. And yeah, this file is massive. which that tool I wrote is going to come in handy now because we're going to modify all those without control clicking everywhere. So let's start with test method, open parens. We're going to change it to test, open parens. We'll even add the quotation mark right now. And then we're going to change assert r equals with require. Do it for everything, please. And then we're gonna do, let's look for any other asserts, because we might have more. Okay, so we have assert fail. I think there's literally just a fail macro. And then you just write args. What would args be? I think you just write fail. I don't know what the args for a fail would be. Let's see. Assertion macros, fail. Okay, not in here, maybe under... Oh, that's what they're called, fixtures. So like the class you use is a fixture essentially for all your like test initialization and cleanup. Do you have an event dispatcher and events? I assume everything you made was handcrafted. I use event dispatch for a couple of things involving the like UI. Not really much else, mostly to update the UI. I think we also hook into Steam's event dispatcher because you have to do that to signify when achievements are unlocked. So we do a couple of those, but it's very like here and there, right? And we just do a lot of like callbacks for most things. So we do like on death, on spawn, on update, right? So I usually use callbacks instead. It just depends, right? It's whatever comes to mind when I'm building it. I guess I need to, where is this? Can we search in? Okay, let me try fail and see if anything pops up that's useful. Alright, you know what? Maybe we'll just look at the header. That's one thing I like about this header. It's a simple header that we can actually look at and explore. If it... Oh, it's... Wait, is there a window? What? How'd this happen? Okay. Anyway, oh wait. This is in like a is this a different Visual Studio? What? I'm so confused. What is this? Why? I'm very confused right now. Solution 1? Apparently I just had a different Visual Studio open this whole time. I have no clue what happened. Okay, anyway. Yeah. Okay, so we're looking for fail, which is... fail. Okay. Fail. VA args. So what is... I'm only curious what the VA args is for, because that's the important part. So where's the define for this? VA args does what? Macro name catch SR. VA args goes here. Okay, so it's a message. So we can put a custom message on fail. So I will go ahead and write this in there. It looks like it just uses a stream to input it, so we can do that. That's also why doing the stream operators works. I, for example, got an event dispatcher, and whenever I need an event to run, I do... Right, so, I do that only for, like, UI things, because sometimes we have to update the UI, right? I'm trying to remember if I could find something that makes sense. There's, like... I think, like, selling an item, like, we would probably find one there. I don't know where selling occurs right now, but that would be an example. Maybe it's under, like, the player, like sell item, or maybe it's under item. I mean, it being under item would make sense, right? Get sell value, sell value. Well, that's not helpful, is it? It could also just be under, like, a merchant. Like, merchant. Merchant, add item. Well, I can show you here. Here's one. So add item calls merchant inventory slots updated. Well, that's more a callback, actually. But this callback does use, like, I guess it is an event dispatcher. So if I go to it, you see here, it goes through, so these are all the listeners, it iterates through every listener and does a callback on it. So I guess it's, yeah, it's essentially a dispatch. So that's what I do mostly for UI things. That way the UI elements know they have to stay updated. But yes, ECS definitely uses events, because communication between data is only possible through them, really. Because you're never, with ECS, you're never dealing with, like, an entire entity in full, you're dealing with parts of entities, just like the data that matters. So, yeah, that makes sense. And I've never personally used ECS, I've just seen what it is and what it does, and I've personally made the decision that, like, okay, this is not for me, I don't want to use it in this project. Like, it's not a fit, right? So, components, that's the, yeah. I don't know the formal terms, so I apologize. But thank you, yeah. Okay. Anyway, I've also seen plenty of videos about it, right? It gets a lot of hype, which, fair. It is very, very good. It's, to me, the significance is like cache locality, right? It's the biggest thing that's talked about when it comes to speed. I wonder if I can find replace this. I think I can. I think we can safely say close parens open bracket is unique. I think we can do that safely. It doesn't work for, like, for loops and while loops and stuff. Okay, take that back, I guess. Damn. Alright, that's fine. I'll just multi-select this one. Either that, or I also run it through my thing. Okay, new idea. Run it through my thing, and... because doing this manually, this one's gonna be a pain, there's a lot. The require macro is what's used by this testing framework. Yes, it's like, oh, this condition has to be matched in order for the test to succeed. So you can think of it as like a require, but it's just what the unit testing framework uses for integration here. So it's a little more than just a require, like the internal require, but yeah. Oh yeah, because there's another one called what is it? Catch? Is it catch? Or is it check? Yeah. So equally, there's one called check, and this macro will continue even if the test fails, so you can keep running other stuff. But because this is a game, a lot of my tests require, like, the previous test to succeed. So there's no point in testing the future if the past wasn't even in the right state, right? So, yeah. That's why I use require. Okay, so I have to make this decision. Am I doing this? Am I auto-magically replacing? I guess I am. Okay, so let me uncomment what I had before, because that's going to come in handy in a minute here. How am I going to do this? So normally I would do all this at once. So I'd have, okay, if line contains require, if line contains test, let's just say only this, else, because the line can't contain both, I put them on separate lines, so we don't care about the other stuff. So if line contains test, let's say go to the end and just, or include everything except the last two characters. That's really all we have to do. So line equals substring 0 to, we don't even have to find anything. We just say substring to the string length -2. And then we can add in our extra characters, which is a quotation mark, a close parenthesis, and an open bracket. Open curly brace. Okay, cool. So we're gonna do that. I'm gonna build, and then we're gonna take this file, or these lines of code, put it in our input, and then run the comma replacer, which is definitely not just a comma replacer anymore. And the output is now... ta-dang! Beautiful. Oh, it's still doing that comma thing. Wait. Does it not do both? If line contains require, it gets replaced, but then line should contain the quotation mark thing still, and then gets replaced. The comma gets left behind? I thought I put the... Oh, I undid the -1, didn't I? -1, okay. So let me just rerun that again. Yeah, I just forgot the -1. Okay, output. That looks good. So we'll take that back into here. And... Alright, so let's see what we're left with. Okay, so... Player's not a thing. Oh, I forgot to put the class here, so it doesn't know what the heck... what class this is. So test needs to be test... enchant tests. Okay. Oh, forgot a comma. Comma. Alright, there we go. Alright, now what's left? I missed the assert is false. Okay. Require... not has value. This one is... Oh, this is just an entirely different thing. Okay, get rid of that. This is a lot of string magic you're doing. Oh yeah. It's like we have to replace all the strings with other stuff. Or we replace all the file with other things. In range. Okay, so we did make this function, and I changed it to match the new testing framework. Apparently it's not right. Let me see. Initial value has to be greater than or equal to range dot first, and initial value has to be less than or equal to range dot second. Includes an assert message, which we don't use, which is fine. I don't care for the assert message. Why are we having issues? Is it because of the comma? Do I have to wrap in parentheses because it's a macro argument? No, it's not a macro. First of all. Oh, but it's a macro in here. So I should wrap the arguments in here in parentheses, just to be safe. Okay, so initial value is greater than or equal to range dot first, which should parse, so that's fine. It's just the initial value, I think. Does that make sense? That doesn't really... No, that doesn't make sense. No instance matches the argument list. Oh, maybe it doesn't know what this is. This is supposed to be an int. A pair of ints. Why doesn't it know what this is, though? I guess it might think it's like a VF2D or something. VI2D. Arguments are int, comma... Okay, wait. We have T and T2... Wait, is that right? Aren't they supposed to be two separate, Technically, they don't even have to be the same... Wait, in a range, these have to be numerical. Okay, so it does have to be the same numeric type. Which they are. Int and int. Oh, we removed the message. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. My thing did that for me. Okay, so I am getting rid of the message. Cool. No message. Now it's happy. Okay. And then down here... what is this? Require, and we provided a... What was this before? I assume this was like an error range? Which we can actually do. So, okay, yeah, because this is like a float comparison. I think we did this error range to prevent... Wait. Yeah, this doesn't really make sense, does it? I don't know what this 0.1 is. I assume it's an error range because we probably had errors when we were like adding and subtracting floats, right? So if I go back to assertion macros and I go down to the float stuff, we can use the approximate function and we can specify what the margin or the epsilon is. So we can do the same thing that way and provide this approximate object. So we can say this is an error range and we can set it to, apparently we did 0.1. This underscore percent though, I think converts it to like, I think it multiplies by 100, which makes no sense. What do you do? Tell me. Oh, you divide by 100. Okay, so that does reduce... So it's 0.1 divided by 100, so it's 0.001. I guess I could just substitute. That was the intention, at least. Let me check. So... Epsilon sets the coefficient by which a result can differ. Yes. So that's... Assumedly, that's what we want, but let me double check, because I need to check the intention of the old code. Which... Oh, that's probably why I had issues earlier. Okay. It was opening stuff up in this Visual Studio here that was like... I was confused. Anyway, so what is this? This is emergency recovery check. So emergency recovery check did assert R equal 0% to player percent recovery, comma... Huh? I'm confused. Technically that wasn't even supposed to compile. Did it just compile on its own? I feel like that was a mistake. Unless... Okay, hold on. Maybe there's a version of assert R equal that is for a float. Again, because it has a float version. Overloads. So let's just say double, right? Double, double, double. Okay, there you go. Delta. The required accuracy. Only thrown if actual is different than expected by more than delta. So this is supposed to be a delta. So, that works. I'm glad I figured that out. It's been forever. Okay, so we do that. I'm gonna have to do the same thing. Oh, but wait. That means I have to make I have to wrap this in error range, right? Yeah, I'm gonna have to manually do that still. 100 is equal to target. Wait. So you approximate the value you want. Dot epsilon. Okay, that makes more sense. So we could make an epsilon function. Like, we can just call it like test approx, right? And do maybe wrap the whole thing. No, because this will be in the way. It'll be like accept these two as arguments and then return true or false. So it would turn into something more like this. And I think this makes more sense. So I like that more. Because I think the way they want approx to be used is... the value itself has to be... Let me see. Approx can be used on either side of a comparison. It overloads the comparison operators to take a tolerance into account. So I approximate either side and it just works. I just don't like that syntax. I'm like, I understand, I just don't... It's not intuitive to me. But I guess... So it would actually look like this. Which is like, fine. Maybe a macro would make me happy. Like, what if instead I did this? Approx with two arguments, right? The value and the error. I think that would make me more happy. Error goes here, value goes here. Okay. At least with this... Yeah, I like that a lot more. Well, assuming it works. Which it does. Okay, cool. So we're gonna do that then. Yes. Because I don't want the test to fail because of rounding error, so that does make sense. Now, do I want to keep this as a local macro or move it into the helpers? Or move it into catch, which is what I've been doing for some of these test macros. I think I'll move into catch. So I'll just drop it down here at the bottom. And we also have to provide a dummy macro in case we're compiling without unit testing. Like so. Okay. So far so good. It doesn't like... Oh, does it like it? Okay, it does. Until it's just being slow. So now... What else do we got? Assert are not equal. So these two are not equal. Okay. And then it doesn't like, I think this is a cascading error. Yeah. IntelliSense will catch up. Something's not right. Yeah, something's not right here. Namespace definition is not allowed. What? I'm so confused. I'm so confused. Also, I can remove these. I forgot. So we can do a replace on find all true, just remove it. And then false equals with a not. Just to clean these things up a little bit. Okay. And then... yeah, it's not liking this for some reason. Is this like a mismatched brace? Oh, it is. Uh-oh. How'd that happen? I have no idea how that even happened. Okay. Weird. So this should be like... wait. What? So this is like this? Something's not right here. Because this for loop, out, in, out, in, out. What's this brace for? Yeah, that for loop ended up there, so why am I putting a brace down here for it? That means there's something else oh, there it is. There's an if statement. Okay. That explains it. Alright, now we're good. Okay. Assert fail. Oh, right. So here, wait. Why does it just say assert fail? Okay, I see. So these are fails with strings before, but they've been deleted. So that was a fault of my little string replacer thing. I guess I could put them back. I just need to grab them. Oops. So that's the fault of my string replacer thing. I guess we can write an exception then if there is an assert fail. If there is an assert in front at all, it has not been modified. So you can say if not line contains, right, assert in it, then we know we can modify it safely. Okay. I think that's correct. Even without that brace. Okay. Cool. Wait. So let me look for the assert fails. Actually, let me pull it up in the Finder. That'd be great. Assert fail in... it's not a project, right? So current document. Find all. And let's just take a look. So we're on... what are we on? Not found soul, which is this one. A soul was not generated from a kill. Blah, blah, blah. And then replace that one with that text. Then we have down here. I assume that's what the next two are. A monster soul has not disappeared after colliding with a player. Yes. So you get to put those in. And we get to change these to fail macros. Cool. Alright, what else is new? Require... okay, so these just had W formats on them. I'm gonna get rid of those. Okay. And then finally... let's see. More errors somewhere? Oh, here. 2 more fails. Okay, those were the other fails that we weren't... monster soul should not have been generated. So where is that? Here they are. So these 2 are now failing. I turned caps lock on and then I started holding shift. God. Okay. And then I turned caps lock off and I stopped holding shift. It's just... like, come on. Alright. Here. Another one? Maybe? No? Oh. Okay. We have assert is true. Assert is true, so require. And then these are is false. Require. Again, I turn on caps lock. And then I start holding shift, so this one's a not. And then down here, more assert trues, which are all just an automatic find replace. Okay. I think I got everything. Cool. Alright. So, if everything worked out, that should be a bunch of new tests added. Woo! Uh-oh. Enchant test has already been defined to a namespace? To be a namespace? Okay, this was probably a friend class thing. So I'm gonna get rid of that and forward declare a... Or not even forward declare, just get rid of that and just say, we have a friend class called enchant tests. Yeah, that's maybe that's why I had issues earlier with the friend class thing. Right? Like, that makes sense. If I go to... Where was it? Here? I, like, defined one, right? But it's like, that was referencing a different type or something? I think I deleted it, but... Yeah, it had to do with these, and I did, like... Friend class, affect tests, but you can see affect tests is defined right above here. Like, a forward declaration, but it's like, we don't need to do that, right? Because, yeah... So I think if we do that, we can get rid of this. Because even if it was private, it would be accessible. And this fell under an affect test. Okay, so now it's complaining again. So it doesn't work. I don't know why it doesn't work, but it doesn't. So we're just not going to do that, I guess. In that case, I'm just going to stick with what we've been doing just for consistency. Because if it works, great, I'll switch, but it's not working. So let me jump back a little. Okay. So here, we're gonna check, get rid of this, and make everything that's private available in item. So if not defined, unit test, testing, else, public, and if. Okay. Rebuild. And see, this is what I like now, is we can go to actions and see if the last test built or not. In this case, it still failed. So why are we failing? Error arithmetic on a pointer to an incomplete type tile group. What? That's a very oddly specific one. Okay, this is in buff test line 38. A pointer, huh? Buff test line 38, which we implemented earlier, by the way. So it was working fine in here. So of course, wait, this is an include. All right, compiling charged arrow from buff test adventure. I'm reading the stack backwards. Okay, so in this header, in this camera 2D, in geometry 2D, on line 188, that's really strange. On line 188 of OLC util geometry 2D, which is including vector, so this is in the vector header. What are we doing? So why are we requesting this template? Destructor for vector requested here. Adventures of the Story line 101. Class AIL. First required here. Called in inline buff tests. Oh, it needs the destructor for Adventures in Listoria? Because of how this is set. Hold on. Isn't this a unique pointer? So I guess when the unique pointer is destroyed, it calls the destructor, right? So it's saying it's trying to do arithmetic on it? Let me see. For a forward declaration of tile group. No, that's just a warning. Okay. Arithmetic on a pointer to an incomplete type. So this type... So essentially... Standard vector tile group size requested here. Okay, so it's like this vector of tile groups is an incomplete type at this point in time. So obviously it can't reference it or destroy it. So whatever is forward declaring it, it needs to not forward declare it in map.h line 85. So it's just like order of headers is not correctly working out here compared to when I'm compiling it on this machine. So this is the forward declaration of tile group. Where is it used? Right here, this is a pointer. Where else is it used? Because it's saying, but it gets actually included in where it's required, right? Buff_test.cpp line 55. So buff test getting destroyed. I assume tile group. Let me see where it's. It comes from the file tilegroup datafile.h. So should I just include that? Will that fix it? I assume so. But that begs the question, because it was supposed to be done in this include, right? Why can't we just include it from there? Because it's required, right? It's because it includes adventures in Listoria.h. So do I have an inline file I can't use here? Because I have a conflict? That's what I'm starting to see here. Static function. Static functions. So all these are static functions. Tilegroup data file itself is a class with a static member. So effectively, this is just a class that doesn't get instantiate. Wait, no, a tile group does though. So tile group is what we're interested in. And clearly it has data. So we have to include that. So basically we have to put tile group in its own header file because tile group data file currently references adventures in Listoria.h. Adventures in Listoria.h wants to reference tilegroup datafile.h, but it can't because it's forward declared. So we have to move this out of here and into its own header file. So this happens sometimes, depending on how your compiler or whatever orders all the headers together. Sometimes it'll like try to smartly include certain things in others, but in this case, like the way we've rearranged everything seems to have caused this forward declaration to now be problematic. So now, apparently this already exists too. Okay, so maybe at one point I was gonna do this and I didn't. And by bringing this out, we are now removing the dependency from tilegroup data file. Well, tilegroup is no longer attached to all these other things, and hopefully it's not attached to adventures in Listoria, because as long as we don't have to include that, we can now properly include this header file inside of map.h, and we don't have to forward declare, or we include this everywhere that it is required. Just header nonsense. So include geometry 2D, because that's required here for sure. Can I get it back, please? OC util geometry 2D, please. Thank you. So that takes care of those. And then we have tile rendered data. Let me just take a peek at it real quick. So tile rendered data is in map, and map wants tile group. So this doesn't work either. So this also has to be moved into its own header file if I want to separate all this out and not have to rely on tile group. But tile rendered data only needs, yeah, because I want to include tile group in here ideally because it's necessary for, why is it necessary again? That's the biggest question. Why do we have to do this in the first place? So it's because Adventures in Listoria requires it, but wasn't it in map.h? Hold on. No, it wasn't. So technically we could put tile group in map.h instead of tile group data file, and that would work because it's not including the Adventures in Listoria header. So then the Adventures in Listoria file can include tile group, because it does include map.h, which is where we could put it, or we can just make our own include tile group, because there is like a tile group structure in here, right? There it is, yeah. So it has two vectors of tile groups, and so the only way to get those is if it can make those references back. It has to know the size of tile groups, so you can't forward declare. So we're gonna have to still separate it anyways. Might as well do it like this. Then inside of map, no, map doesn't even need it. We just include it in here. And that should fix everything. Include tile group .h. So apparently this file existed, which means at one point I identified that this was going to be needed, and maybe I just forgot to do it, and I've been lucky with how it's been parsing everything. Or maybe I finally like linked, because once we made buff tests, that's when the problems occurred. So now it's like there's some circular include, and it's like, okay, you're on your own. I can't do this anymore. Couldn't figure it out, right? Alright, so where's this defined? Because I want to put it in like a tile group.cpp instead of this tile. Oh, okay, cool. So that means I shouldn't need this. I should just need this, right? Hopefully. Cool. And then does this have to stay? This has to stay. But now tile group is separated, so it won't include tile group data file, which means it won't, yeah, it won't cause the problems we had earlier, which is fine. And by transitively including Adventures in Listoria, I get tile group. Cool. So that should fix that. That shouldn't have done anything on this end. Like, I should be able to still build this, right? Oh, weren't there other errors here we haven't done yet? It was the, like, friend class stuff, right? And so I put an if def, so that should have fixed that. And if this works, we'll also commit, and then hopefully GCC will be happy now. It's just good that that popped up. So that actually popped up for Clang and GCC, so that's interesting. It's good to know that that, like, is just a thing, right? I wonder if this would have told us something a little different. Let me see. What does this one say? Okay, this one just says invalid use of incomplete type. So either way, we would have, like, gotten something akin to, hey, you're an incomplete type now with circular header references or dependencies, and we can't resolve you. Also, there's a static assertion that failed. Chain comparisons are not supported inside assertions. Wrap the expression inside parentheses. Oh, okay. Sure. I'm kind of glad it has that checking for us. So chained is not allowed. Wrap the expression in parentheses or decompose it. Okay. Well, I'm not decomposing it because I'm a little too dumb for that, but we'll do this. Okay. Dumb as in I just don't know how. I forgot. The last time I took, like, when I went to college, I took an electronics, like, digital design course. And that was the only time we learned how to do arithmetic decomposition in regards to, like, you know, coming up with, like, truth tables and stuff. And that's the only time I've ever done it in my life. And I forgot how to do it. And we're not gonna do it anyway. It's still complaining about this. It says, we have to wrap the expression inside parentheses. Like, do I have to wrap each one? It says, chain comparisons. So, like, each one has to be wrapped is what I'm reading here. Maybe like that? Let me try that first. Because, like, then, technically this is one comparison, right? Like an and... Wait. Or do I wrap... Okay, it is wrapped in parentheses. Do I have to wrap the whole thing in parentheses? It looks like I do. It's still erroring. So, I don't know. I'm just gonna add more and see what happens. Okay. Or, if anything, I have to actually, like, solve it out here and then just put a true or false in here. I might just do that. That might be simpler, right? Okay, it looks like it actually compiled, so that did work for whatever reason. That's a lot of parentheses. So, yeah. Test Explorer. 99 tests. I'm only gonna check these guys, because technically adding more tests should not make the other tests fail, in theory. That wouldn't make sense, right? Also, the sun's really bright. Let me just... Okay. Okay. Let's see what happens. Test begin. Excited. Oh. Now I'm not excited. This one failed? Required test is equal to test. Uh-oh. Wait, that's not equivalent? What? How's that not equivalent? Oh no. Does it not have proper string comparisons? Wait, what does that mean? Does it think this is like the literal string, like quotation marks? That doesn't really make sense, right? I don't think it could be that. Okay, we need to write like a string comparison, or maybe there's something in the docs about this. Let me see. That's kind of weird. Strings. Oh. String is equal to string val. Well, I mean, that's what we do, right? So that... I don't think it says anything about, like, strings specifically. Like, to me, it makes sense that it should just work out of the box. I don't expect it not to, but it looks like any string comparison stuff fails. I forgot, this runs 2001 different tests. It like generates a bunch of numbers and then tests them. I forgot about that. I'm like, 2000? Jesus. Okay, this one is 8,000. Goodness. That's fun. Okay. Well, let's just, now I do C string here. Do I do C string here? I do. Maybe it's a problem with that? Like, what if it's comparing the null operator? Or the null character, right? Could that be possible? I doubt it, because I think, in theory, doing this makes it a const char, right? So, like, in theory, these two, even if that were the case, I don't think that would be the issue. Like, that's just strange. That's just so bizarre. But I'll try, like, removing it, I guess, and seeing what happens. Like, this is actually a good test, because, like, we can actually do this right here. Hi there, Tiger. Welcome. Good to see you. So, we're currently migrating our entire test suite over to the Catch2 unit testing framework. Mostly because we now have this. This is a modification to my old actions runner. I'm just showing the one that passed because the other ones had compile errors. We actually have compiling and running unit tests now inside of Linux. I don't think I've ever seen you tackle a small job. That's funny. Okay, but yes. And I was showing this earlier too. I haven't been online for the past about like a week and a half, partly because my composer has been coming over and we've been working on music stuff. So like he would work on music, I'd work on my project, and I was working on like figuring out how to migrate this thing, right? So it's like, you can see right here, this is the very first one I did trying to migrate my project. At this point, there was no like unit testing in the CI/CD, but you can see here, add new Google test project, and then the problems began, right? From the moment we added the ability for it to try running the unit tests, I was having issue after issue after issue. You can see like, once we get to this next page, like the commit messages start getting like, you can start seeing the problems, the frustration. It's like, oh, headless macro is required. Add an option for test only property. Apt get update. Pipe. Add in another headless macro guard. Add unit testing to test only CMake compiler definitions. No test discovery. This is when I switched to Catch2 in the hopes that this framework might actually give me stuff. And then I spent forever fixing CMake. God, CMake is so frustrating. And you can just see all these include free type anyways. Fuck it. And then it's like, quotes instead of arrow brackets. Webhook update should always send. CMake required. Add missing standard C++ XP. Live back chain. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. Oh yeah. But once we got through all that, I finally had something. So now we have an adapter that works in Visual Studio, so I get to still run all my unit tests in here, which is great. We're currently trying to figure out this string thing. And then I can commit it, and it will do all the unit testing on my continuous integration under actions. So that's all set in stone, and now if we do commits in the future, now I'll know right away if unit tests are failing, which I'm very happy about. That is actually a huge thing I've wanted for a long time. Just learning the basic... It is... CMake is just so frustrating. Like, seriously. Like, God. The more I add to this, the more I dread coming back to this file every time. I'm like, God, please, get me out of here. Same with, like, Docker files. It's the same thing, right? You're, like, configuring the systems that will configure your systems. It's like, oh my God, get me out of this mess, please. Okay, anyway, we need to figure this out first before we can commit. So apparently string comparisons are not working. Worst case scenario, we have to do like a dot equals, right? Or something. I hope that's not the case, but let's try to figure it out this way first. So my first instinct is, what does equals equals do here? So it says it's not overloaded, which tells me that these are probably two basic types being compared. I don't think required does anything funky to them, but let's see. Because VA args, you'll take the first one, right? So internal catch test. Let me go look at that again. And that's not it. All right, internal catch test. So macro name, result disposition. So it's inside a try catch. It does a decomposer, which is probably its own thing. God, I can't read this. Handle expression. VA args. Less than... Is that just a custom operator for this class? Hold on, let me see. What is this? Okay, it is expression left-hand side. Returns expression is... What is this? Oh God, now I'm just getting to the weeds. Maybe we should stop. Okay. So this looks like a whole bunch of magic to help figure out... Okay, so I think we can make some sense of this. So equals equals, right? Right. I mean, that's what I expect. Just the equal comparison. That should be all it's doing. We shouldn't be expecting anything fancy here. But yeah, let me just try this real quick and see if this works, right? If this doesn't work, then... Man, that would suck. Let me just rebuild. It's better now. I can reuse my CMake list file instead of reconfiguring my new project settings every month. Yes, that's like the whole point, right? Is like, you want it to be something you can keep reusing. You don't have to keep setting up a project every single time. For the longest time, I kind of ran my own little build system too, and it was very annoying to have to like dispatch updates to it, and then I just made the script actually fetch updates from the main project that I updated from. So literally I was building a whole make system, like a build system that auto keeps itself updated too. I'm just like, this is a pain. And I'm like, all right, that's enough. I've built enough. I've reinvented the wheel enough myself. It's time to just use an actual system. God. It's like, at some points, like, I had the fun of making something myself. Now I'm just gonna use the thing that actually works. Okay, so let's see what this does now. Does it still fail at test equals test? Okay, it doesn't. So that's very interesting. C string is returning something that causes this and this to not evaluate to true. And I don't know why. So this is like a fixed size char, right? And this is a char pointer. So maybe it's comparing the pointer value to the string? But at the same time, internally, a char array is just a char pointer. So how does that make sense? Is there some like magic string conversion magic or pointer number magic going on here? Like, if I just get rid of this, right? So I had to do this before because I think the old testing framework only supported C strings. It didn't support C++ string, standard string. So maybe we're supposed to use C++ strings here, which makes sense. It's a C++ framework. It's meant for C++. So maybe C string was like messes it up, right? My guess is it's comparing like pointer number to like a converted actual string somehow. I don't know how I would do that. That's just a guess. Okay, so let's try this again. The pointers are different even though the string contents are the same. Oh, you might be right. You actually, yes, that would make sense. If you're comparing pointers, you're not comparing strings, right? Okay. So maybe the Microsoft framework was actually dereferencing the strings or turning them into strings and then comparing them. That's actually a good point. It might be comparing pointers, and this is like pre-built somewhere in my executable in one part of memory, and this has to be calculated and is a string pointer in another point of memory. They say you're supposed to use equal... Oh, really? For real? Equals... Let me see. Is that a thing? Is required check here? Where? Other macros? Other macros. Succeed, stack require, method as test case, dynamic section. Oh, string conversions. Catch needs to be able to convert types used in assertions and logging expressions into strings. Okay, that's probably not what I want. Enums. But see, when we were looking in here, they were using like strings, like check and require, right? Like I saw, I could have sworn there was a require, but like check and a require, I think are the same thing. So like check, string, but then again, these are like, I don't know, we're seeing the same things, right? So here, okay, now pre-test failed. So it is that conversion to a C string. So my best guess, at least according to this behavior, is C string returns a whole different string somewhere else in memory, right? So this is just another thing we have to do while converting, is don't use char arrays or char pointers. Use actual strings. Matchers? Matchers. Let me see. String. Okay. For matchers. Like, as far as I know, matchers are like, okay, kind of like search for... Matchers are introduced with require that or check that, which takes two arguments. First argument is the thing under test. The second part's a match expression. If the check and require expressions were formed from standard string equality, the equality operator is overloaded to handle comparing contents. There are two parts. Okay, string matchers. The string matchers are starts with, end with, contains, equals, and matches. The first four match a literal substring against a result. Okay. I guess I'm not understanding why I have to use it, if that makes sense. But it does say they exist, so it's like, okay. Checks whether the result is exactly equal to a specific vector. Okay, so a string is basically a vector, so that works. So does this work? Wait, that makes me even more confused. Because it's like... So why doesn't this work, right? This is a char array, this is a char array. Like, again, we could think maybe, like, the char array pointer values are being compared versus what's actually contained in them, which might make sense. But then, like, I don't know. This is not even the right equals. Do I have to, like, undef equals before I define it here? Is there an equals in here? You know what? I'm not seeing equals in here either. If you're trying to compare raw C strings, you need to define equality using strcmp. Well, okay. What is going on under the hood is, I think, beyond my current comprehension or desire to learn at this moment. But we do know this works. Like, a string is equal to another string does work. We know that much, so we'll stick with this for now. So we'll have to do the same in this test. And we'll have to keep that in mind going forward. Is that we can't compare a string, a char pointer, to a string with this testing framework. For the time being. It's probably possible, probably in a way that a roundabout way that I don't think I'm gonna really investigate now. I would probably have to read up more on this and see it in action and probably understand this matcher concept a bit more to really, like, understand the why behind it. Your right-hand side is an optional, so the overload equality operator is coming from standard string, which handles comparing the contents. Okay, yes, that does make sense. So these two tests should now pass. At least I hope. Just be careful you don't try to compare pointers later. I thought maybe requires that equals might be less error prone. Oh, okay, yeah. That's fair. Okay. So that's probably what you're getting at, right? With the equals thing. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I don't understand the why, but the doing that does make sense. Okay. Yeah, because of the conversion. Okay. So those all now pass. So, with everything in theory passing, I'm gonna go ahead and do the commit. Hopefully our actions build will actually succeed now that I've done some class rearranging. So, fix tile group, what is it? Forward declaration issue? I'm surprised Visual MSVC can handle that. It's kind of weird that GCC and Clang don't want to. Maybe it's just because of the way I have the errors set up, but maybe I should put MSVC to report more errors. It might be biting me in the butt. Anyway, and implement or migrate enchant tests. Yeah. Okay. Great. I think we've got 3 more test suites to integrate. We got a little bit more coding time, so we're gonna try and finish this. So, engine tests are next. Coming along great though. It's been a pretty smooth process so far. I'm happy to report. Which is one of the big reasons I wanted to switch to this, was like, I just heard I was gonna have a lot less testing woes. It looked a lot simpler. The single header approach was very appealing, so yeah. And it just works great with my project setup. The way I have everything set up already. Because as a solo developer, trying to integrate any new system into a project this large is a massive undertaking. Like I said, it took me almost like 2 weeks just to even get to this point. I'm like, that's insane. God. Just so much work. Okay. So... And then the integration taking like less than an hour per file is awesome. Like the migration. I really enjoy that. Okay, so... Change this to class. Gonna make it plural. Do that. Let's bring these back indentation-wise. Go ahead and make this the constructor. Hi there, FBI. Welcome. Yeah. Currently in the middle of a giant test migration. Alright, this is the destructor. To be careful not to confuse all these braces. Destructor for engine tests. Okay. And then we got all these test method guys. We're gonna replace with tests. Let's get rid of the parentheses as well and put engine tests, comma, quotation mark. And then change all these assert are equals to be require. Any other asserts we should be aware of? No. Okay. And then take this, go into our comma parser that we made, and go ahead and run it through that. And then we get this file. Okay. Alright, what are we, oh, we need to include catch. That would be important. It looks like we have a bunch of these we don't need too. Include catch. Okay, let's see. Beautiful. Alright, let's go ahead and build it. Definitely take a look at the other matchers later. Vector matchers can make things so easy to test, you can write custom matchers for your own type too. For sure. Considering we're like just getting into this framework, like I'm sure once I start writing my next set of tests, this is going to be way more useful. Oh, I do see something though I have to fix. I have to fix the C string stuff. I'm gonna cancel that real quick. Yeah. All these have to go away. For sure. These just return strings, right? Yes. So let me search for any more C underscore string. Good. Okay, now let's build it. Do you use AI at all? I do not. I've toyed with it, but I don't use it for any of my projects. I just kind of use it as a silly, oh, this does silly things. And that's it. I've never used it for any like actual programming project. Okay, so let's see if these run. I'm not against AI. I don't really have a reason to use AI. The way I put it is, AI is useful for if you're trying to go faster, right? If you don't want to write out like boilerplate code, if you don't want to reinvent the wheel, if you want to just focus on getting things done, if you want to increase your output, I think AI is great for that. So I don't really have a need to use it because this game project isn't really on like a strict deadline. I don't have a boss. I'm not being measured by my metrics, my output. So I just get to have fun. And the fun of coding is the problem solving, the coding part itself. If I don't get to write out the code, if I don't get to do all the setup of the code, if I don't get to touch every line, that's not fun to me. And I do programming for fun, so I don't have a reason to use AI because it takes the fun out of it. And I think that's a very important reason to not use AI. But I have nothing against people that do. They have pretty valid reasons to. And there are definitely companies out there that are pushing it, so it's like some people don't even get a choice, which I think is terrible. But yeah, since I get a choice, I just personally choose not to because it's fun for me to program. Oh, that is a good point, and something a lot of people bring up. AI is a great, like, search engine, I guess, because it kind of searches a lot of things for you, especially if you have no clue what you're searching for. If all you have is an error, and you have no clue what that error pertains to, AI could probably spit out, like, oh, this is what it's related to, and then you can go on your own and do even more research about that problem yourself, even if AI can't necessarily solve it for you. Yeah. So I just have reasons for not using it, but I'm not against it, and if I was forced to use it, then hey, you gotta make bank, right? You gotta make money. Okay. So I think all the tests passed, so we get to commit. Yay! Did this work? No, it didn't. What other build errors do we have? It seems they keep coming up. Redefinition of unused func buff tests in buff test line 119. How is MSVC not catching these? This is insane. Okay, 119. What am I looking at? Redefinition of unused func buff tests. Oh, wait a second. Because that's what the macro expands it to, but how's it Are there two functions called this? Oh my god, there are. So yeah, wait, no, that's not true. Hold on. Oh, this does have an error. May not be redeclared outside its class. Yes. So this is erroring. I guess MSVC just doesn't care. It's just like, whatever. So I'm actually missing a test? Hold on. Add buff player callback expire function. Add buff player callback expire function. So apparently it's a duplicate, right? So there's one up here? Or maybe further down? Or is this getting included? Or yeah, there's nothing here about duplicates. I don't... What? May not be redeclared outside its class. Because let's expand this real quick, just in theory, right? I'm so confused. This is Visual Studio. Using AI to build things quick, testing and validation is fun. Maybe. I mean, I'm not gonna not believe you, but I haven't had that experience. So that's just my take on it. But we'll put it this way, I'm a traditional programmer, hobbyist programmer, right? So I just enjoy doing things this way, and that's how it is. There are many decisions I've made that are very questionable, like the ways I've coded. I've been asked a lot of questions about them in all sorts of ways. Why do you do this? Why do you do that? Why aren't you doing this? This is faster, blah blah blah, right? And sometimes it just comes down to a preference. Whatever you're using to link is linking it twice. Ooh. Maybe that's why we're having so much trouble with this. Let me see. Let me see if I can find anything. Do we have like 2 build targets or something? Maybe? That'd be my first guess. Redefinition. Unused. So it'd be like trying to compile this file twice or something? Why would it compile it twice though? In what scenario would it do that? Because this is a CPP file, but... I don't know. And I'm not seeing anything that immediately screams out to me, this is wrong. Like, we don't get a build error here. Let me see what GCC says, because GCC probably is going to have the same issue. Maybe it has a different way of explaining it. Whoa, what is this? Oh, it's actually running it. File system error. Recursive directory iterator cannot open directory. Oh. Oh yeah, I have to actually commit my stuff to this. How am I gonna do that? I'm gonna need like... Shoot. Let me see. Oh god, I have to really think about this. Where are configuration stuff? I need the YAML that sets up the workflow. I'm scripting... Oh, it's in Git workflow. So I might have to make a volume that contains the assets and keep that updated. Maybe I can make like a... So I currently use Google Drive to hold my assets to keep them synced. I'm trying to think if I can use that at all. Like maybe there's a a GitHub action to fetch from Google Drive? I doubt it. This site does not look the way I intended. This one? No. This one? Oh, here we go. Wait, no. Yeah, this isn't the site I was expecting. I think I'm looking for something else. Like, what do you call it? Well, I'm looking for these. I forget what this... Is literally supposed to be like GitHub Actions... GitHub Actions... Where the heck are these? There's like... Starter workflows... Isn't there supposed to be a site for this? Like, I swear there was. Like, it links to this, which is like, okay, but this isn't... What is going on? This is not the site I was looking for. I mean, get started with actions leads to here. Reference? Workflows and actions? Ugh. Search or ask Copilot! Yay! Let me just try to find this. Like, no. How do I find these? Check out. Like, there's the checkout action, but that's not what I want. I want... Oh, market... There it is, marketplace. That's what I was looking for. Okay. Okay. This is the site I was expecting to go to. So in here, we can look for, like, Google Drive. Google Drive upload Git action. Interact with Google Drive. That might be what I want. Downloading Google Drive's files or folder. Now, I have my own server, so am I just doing more work than I need to? Should I just make a way to automate getting the files from my computer to my server instead? Because I want to keep this as simple as possible. If I update the assets in here, it goes to Google Drive right now. It needs to somehow get to my server, that update. I know, right? The most confusing UI. Didn't GitHub have some issues with its actions? Oh, well, I don't use GitHub, so... I've heard about that, but I don't use it. So, I use GitHub Actions in Git-T, so it's like... It still will... Well, I guess it's still hosted by GitHub Actions, but I don't know. They're trying to scale it up, yeah, but my server actually has its own runner. So in regards to the runner itself, like, I don't use their runner system. Which is nice. Google Drive simple download. This might... Okay, well, let's take a look. What do we got? Downloads a file from Google Drive. Well, I need more than one file. Okay, download file name. It's literally just a file. Required file name that should be downloaded. So that doesn't sound useful. Let's try this one. Downloading Google Drive files or folders using Drives List API. Provide a path. Path to download files. Default to working directory. Wait. Path to download files. Okay, and obviously I'm gonna have to auth through Google Drive if I do this, which... That's gonna be fun. Not. Okay. Let me think. Google Drive download action. Where's the... How do we tell it what file to download? Query string to search for files and folders? What? To search for... Can I just say, like, a folder name? Why is that so... Why is it a query? Okay, whatever. I guess, like, if it uses that API, maybe that API asks for a query, so maybe that's how that works. Q, query string for searching shared drives. Which is like, okay. I assume we can just type in a folder name and it'll work. Like, that would be best. The method accepts the Q parameter. A search query combine one or more search terms. Search for shared drives. Query term operator values. The term or field to search upon operator. Name equals name. Only return shared drives with the name Google Drive API resources. Query string examples. Created time, hidden. This is for like shared drives, not shared folders. Search for files and folders. Use the fields parameter, get a file. Use the get method on the file's resource. What? With the file ID parameter. If you don't know the file ID, you can list all files using the list method. What is this for? Use the Google Drive API to search files and folders. Oh, could I literally just do like get requests for this? Maybe I could. Well, files. So am I querying for a drive or am I querying for a file and folder? That's what I want to know. So it's like, search for a set of shared drives. Okay. Is the query for downloading Google Drive files or a folder using drives list API? Drives.list uses Q, which searches for shared drives. Am I searching for drives? Okay, so that must be what this is. This is like a drive, like, object ID or whatever, right? So then how would I get the file? I'm looking, like, let me see. What else we got? It's like, upload, download. Download from. Download to. Okay, see, this is much easier. I can do this. What's this? Skika token. Cache. The heck? This action uses Skika for uploading to Google Drive. Okay, so we don't need upload. I assume we can just leave that blank then. And then we have to provide the ID and the secret. Alright, this looks more doable. Why is this required? The credentials of the account to upload. But I don't want to upload. Required for download. Yeah. This shouldn't be a requirement. What if I just put a bad value in it? Will it care? I hope it doesn't care. God. Why does everything have to be stupid? Does your Git have space for assets? Oh yeah. The assets are like 100 megs. And we got... What do we got? 29 gigs. We're fine. Yeah. I'm not worried about that. Let me double check though. Realistically, how much space are we using? Because there is quite a bit in here. It's not a terrible amount, but... Okay, 360. So committing like 1 gig total to this isn't bad. I think I'd rather do that. Well, either way, right? It's gotta download it, so yeah. I don't know, is this too much? Should I just do uploading to my server? Like, I'm trying to think what the workflow would be. Because PowerShell has like, PowerShell has like rsync, right? Like, if it has SSH, surely it has like rsync. Oh, it doesn't? Does it have SSH, what? I mean, if it has SSH, you should be able to... Oh, SCP, right? Yes. Technically, we could do it this way. I'm thinking about it. Like, technically, we can just run this every time. You know, just like run in the background or something. Maybe I should just do that. I feel like that's easier. That's way easier. Let's just use SCP. Why are we dealing with all this BS? Okay. Alright, so first we have to come up with the command. This is gonna include my authentication information, so it's gotta be like... I need to think of how I want to do this. I can make it so I have to input username and password every time, which isn't bad. I have to do that anyways if I have to like do other stuff. I'm not against that. So I would have to make an interactive PowerShell prompt pop up whenever I commit, which is fine. So let's see. This is identity file. Can I do a folder with SCP? Transfer folder, or do I have to like get it to make a million SCP commands? I'm pretty sure you can do a folder too, or I can like compress everything and then send that file. That might actually be better, but let's see. Transfer folder SCP. Let's start there. By not including the trailing slash at the end of foo, you will copy the directory itself rather than only the contents. Wait, what? Rather than only the you will copy the directory including contents. Okay, that's just... You're probably wondering like why the file didn't like go in the right place or something. -R must mean like recursive or something. So it would be this. I'm not gonna put the password, obviously. So it would look something like that, and then you put a colon into where it goes. So we need to designate a place where it goes. So let's do that. Can I don't know why I start this up every time. Also, I know the background transparency thing is ridiculous. I'm very aware. I've just gotten used to it. So, let's put it in... what should we call it? I'm just gonna call it assets. That's fine. Oh, I actually have a... No, let's just call it assets. I'm fine. So, make dir assets. And then that's where everything's gonna go. So, in here, it would just be home directory. I assume I start at home directory. But maybe I'll make it absolute. So, gonna start 2... assets. So don't include the slash. And then by not including the trailing slash at the end of foo, you will copy the directory itself. Wait, my server, that's my server going to me, right? I want it to be backwards. I want to send files to the server. Do I just flip the arguments? I think I just flipped the arguments. So I do whatever the... I'm like looking at my webcam. I'm like, goodness, the sun is killing me right now. Anyway, I'm just like, goodness. So let's find the directory. This is Adventures in the Story / assets. So all this. So this would be the command to transfer. No such file... Oh, wait. And then I don't include the slash, right? Oh, wait. I think that's correct. I need to put quotation marks because there's spaces. Okay. Cool. And then it'll just do it. And when... all these desktop INIs... Jesus. I really need to disable those. Anyway, yeah. Why are there GIMP tools in there? What? Since when? Would you object to just putting the assets in Git? Yes. Because I would then have to retrieve them, which is going to be another fetch, right? So... I mean, I guess they would... Well, no, because they would exist somewhere in memory. And again, like, I don't use LFS. I just store, like, gigantic objects as gigantic objects. But, like, if I can just get it to be files on my system, then I just provide the volume and that's that. The Docker container can get them from there. It's just a direct one-to-one, here's the files. Which I think I would prefer. I guess the only issue is I need to, like... In Linux, you can, like, symlink, right? You can, like, create a folder that symlinks to another folder, right? So if I do, like, a symlink to the stuff inside assets, that should work, right? And then it would be as if I did, like, assets / whatever. So in theory, we could try something like... Let's say I had a folder called test link. And then I had another folder... that already had stuff in it, right? So, like, let's say assets, for example. So right now, assets is getting populated with a bunch of... Oh, crud. It's one off. Whatever. I'll fix it later. But this might actually be a good test anyways. But let's say we want to symlink to this. So I think it's like ln-s. That's like a soft link from... I don't know which order, but I'm just going to take a guess. I assume it's going to be like... I guess we could look it up. So if we do ln-s, what do we get? ln help. Or we can look at the man page. LN, option, target, link name. Okay, target, then link name. So ln-s, the target is assets / assets, and the link name is, I think you have to not have it actually. So it'd be like, let me remove it actually. Test link. RM remove please. Test link. Okay, so let's just do ln -s assets/assets to test link, right? And then I can do cd to test link, and it would take me there, right? ls. And I can also ls test link, and it acts as that folder. So I should be able to do that with wherever the container's working directory is to my home folder, and just include the home folder in some random directory in a volume. Or I guess I could link the assets folder directly to the volume. That's what I should do instead, then I don't need a link. So it'd be something like... so this is the container. It would be for the actual unit testing container. So let's do this. Get2 also requires us to put in the containers that are allowed, so I'm going to have to go into that configuration and do that too. So I guess this is technically making its own link itself, and then I just do /assets here and we're good. Okay, yes. So that should work. So question, how long does this actually take? Are we done? Oh, we're done. Oh, perfect. That didn't take too long. Beautiful. Okay. So now that we have that, obviously I would run it in the background. I guess the only thing left to do is to approve of this volume inside our system. So I'm gonna go here. We're gonna go to, we need to modify the runner config. So this YAML has properties for the runner I use on my Get2 instance. And in order to use any volumes, you have to approve them in a list first. It will only allow you to download the containers and use volumes from a specific list. So I'm going to go to valid volumes. And down here, I just need to specify that volume into as well. So, and then it'll be a valid volume that we can use in our runner. And then after that, we just have to re-register the runner. So I need to call a ACT runner with that configuration file. It's gonna say a runner's already registered. We're gonna overwrite. We're gonna specify the Get2 instance we want it to connect to. And then we have to provide a token. I can't show this token on stream, otherwise random people could register stuff to my server. So I'm gonna hide for a minute. So you guys get to look at this for a second while I grab the token. And then I will use that. Yes. And then I will clear the terminal so the key isn't on the screen. And I will clear my clipboard so the key isn't in my clipboard. And we should be good. You can tell I've done this before. As in, I've accidentally exposed things before. Okay, so now that we've done that, we just have to restart the runner now. So, we have a system service that called ACT runner. So we just restart that, and boom. We now have a brand new runner registered in our system. I don't think I can show this safely, but if I were to start another action, it will start running. Like, I can actually... Well, we'll check in a second, because we'll commit and stuff. So now we have to write the SCP script. So the transfer file script is next. So this is the command we're going to execute whenever we commit. So actually, I don't know how I would do it by commit. Is there a way to do, like, after commit actions in here? Like, I don't think so. Maybe. Hold on. Does Git support that? Let me see. Visual Studio, right? Run, or I guess execute after a commit. Let's see. Visual Studio Community, run command after git commit. You can use a git hook to run your command. Place your command in the file. Oh, that's what they're called. They're called git hooks. I remember this. Okay, yes. So post commit, we can do something. We don't want to run it for like Linux though. Only Windows. Actually, only this computer. How do I determine this is this computer? Maybe we can add some special environment variable that's only visible on here. But then again, this command will just fail if this folder doesn't exist in the first place, right? Git hooks, yeah. Is there a description or video somewhere where you explain how you customized VS and now I see PowerShell as well? For Visual Studio, I just tell this every time somebody asks. I use the extension called Claudia IDE. It just has a bunch of settings for like, you know, you can select a, like a folder to derive or grab backgrounds from, an interval, right? You can even grab it from an API if you want to. Yeah. So that's how I do the background stuff. It also controls transparency, and then I use the theme called Mystica Dark Theme. And then I've done a lot of like resizing of the text. Like this isn't the default size of the Visual Studio text. I've went in and manually adjusted it. It's really simple though. You just go in and it's like, and obviously I don't think people would do this unless they're streaming, but like that is Korean. But yeah, under like fonts and colors, I don't know if y'all knew this, but if you adjust the size of the plain text setting in fonts and colors, it's a cutoff. It adjusts the size of everything else. Like if I change it to like 20, then everything else uses a font size of 20 by default. So that's actually very handy if you want to change like the overall size of your IDE. Yeah, for sure. And then for PowerShell just has these features like built in. I just toyed with it one day. They're under the settings. You go under, I want to say it's color schemes and appearance. So under appearance, it's kind of small, but bear with me here. There's like, let's see, color schemes maybe? No. Rendering, compatibility. It's somewhere in here, I promise. Startup. Profile. Here we go. It's under the profiles. So there's like a profile for each of Microsoft's console apps. And then you go in here and you're like, okay, adjust the... Yeah, there's a lot in here. Like, you'll have to play around with it, of course, but you can use your desktop wallpaper. You can choose a background image. So my desktop wallpaper rotates, right? So that means this also rotates whenever I open it. You can stretch it or fill it, whatever. All the settings are in here. Image alignment, opacity, right? It's all in here. So there you go. Yeah. A lot of stuff to customize. Probably just random things you didn't know, right? Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna use a git hook. And you know what? As long as we run a PowerShell file, a Linux system doesn't know how to run a PowerShell file. That's fine by me. So let's go in Explorer and let's go in here. Let's go to git hooks. And we're just gonna do, this is for post commit, which doesn't exist yet. There's a pre-commit. I assume that's just a default. It does say .sample. So if we actually call it post-commit, it should work. Post commit. And then we'll go ahead and edit that. Oops. I opened the wrong thing. I want to open it in Visual Studio 2022, not the version selector. Like what? Okay. So now we get to put in our command. Now, I don't know if it'll be interactive, and if it's not interactive, I suppose we can get to produce like an interactive prompt or something. That's what I'm hoping for. Maybe I'll just do it on its own, who knows? But we'll try this first and see what happens. Okay, I assume it's gonna pop up here as well. Oh, it doesn't. Okay, so then we can keep it as just, for this computer, this is the post commit hook. We don't even have to commit that. And I kind of don't want to, right? It's very specific. So it kind of makes sense it's not auto-included. It's in a git ignore. Does git already mount the git repo? If the assets are in the repo... So the assets are not in the repo. And the reason for that is this is going to be like a commercial game. There is copyright on the assets not owned by me. And because of that, I can't legally release the graphics. So there are some assets in the repo, but it's like, it's anything I have rights to or permissions to release. So there's some assets, but then every, like, you'll see here, like, this is all the art I've made, right? For any art that I haven't made, we have another folder for each one of these called, and this one, I've made everything, so it doesn't have one. We have another folder called commercial assets. And we just get ignored commercial assets, that way nothing goes in the repo by accident. So you can see here under monsters, there's no commercial assets. So if you try to obtain the code for my project, you won't be able to run it because it's missing all these commercial assets. So it keeps it open source without it being illegally distributed, if that makes sense. Because folks do ask me, like, hey, can I see your code for your project? And I'm like, yeah, it's open source. You can go look at it right now. So, yeah. So I can't directly get it from the repo unless I make a private repo, but then again, if I'm going to do that, I might as well just put on a file system, which makes more sense. So, but it's fun to think of all the possibilities, right? I mean, when we started this whole thing, it was like, okay, how do we even go about doing this, right? So it's fun to think of all the possibilities and what we can do, what options we have. So in theory, if I were to commit right now, we should see a post-commit thing happen. So I don't know how this is going to work. I think in output, we'll see it from Git. So we'll probably see it there in a moment. Let me just try. So this is implementing what? Engine tests? Yes. They all passed, so implemented engine tests. Or migrated, I should say. And did we do anything else really? Oh, added volume for assets for unit testing. Because in theory, if they are right in that folder as the folder name assets, it should work. However, I just realized before we commit this, it's in a deeper level. So I need to, it would actually be /assets/assets unless I change how I do the SCP call, which I think, funny enough, the answer in the Stack Overflow said not to include the slash, which would then copy the folder, I think. So I think if I include the slash, it'll put it right in the base directory I specified, which might be what I want. So let me actually run this command real quick and see if that's the case. I won't let it go all the way through. I just want to see it start. That didn't work. What? Is that because that's an escape character? Oh, it is. I have to, like, doubly escape it? Okay. Okay, so it's copying again, which is what it's supposed to do. And then I look in assets now. It's still making another folder. So that didn't work the way I expected. So I guess if I'm copying this folder as... Wait, so... Maybe I add it as a slash here? Maybe that's what the Stack Overflow is talking about? Hold on. Let's actually see what they were talking about, because now I'm curious, because I think I'm having the same problem that Stack Overflow comment was talking about. How do I copy a folder from remote? Okay. Okay, I guess that's not it. But OP's question was whether it's possible to copy file while SSH to... What? By not including the trailing slash at the end of foo, you will copy the directory itself rather than only the contents of the directory. You will copy the directory itself rather than only the contents. It's talking about this too. That didn't work for me. Or if it did, maybe I'm just dealing with like backslash messy. Okay. Well, whatever. I mean, I'm in full control of where it goes, so all I'm really gonna say is just plop it into my home directory then, if it's gonna copy the actual folder itself. So if it does this, then I'm specifying just the home directory. Okay, so maybe my next step is to set up an RSA key or something for this, so I don't have to type in my password. And maybe it becomes like an automatic process that doesn't require interaction. I just hope that that can be used by Git hooks. Like, hopefully there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so now it's actually copying them to the assets folder, so we're fine there. And I assume it's gonna do more than just 2.10 once it's through that. Yes, so it's adding all the files now. Excellent. So now, get rid of those. So we're gonna do this as the command, the post commit git hook, and then add volume for assets. So we can just try it and see what happens. Oh shoot. Forgot this in the commit. Well, now it's gonna run it, huh? Let me see. Nothing here. How do I know if it works? Well, I mean, it shouldn't have worked because it's like interactive, right? I have to provide a password. Also, Pingu, thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. And now the sun has disappeared. Oh, sun. What have you done? Oh, sun. Just leave it like that. So, I don't know what happened with this git hook thing, but it probably just runs like in its own thread or something. Like if I just commit it on the command line, right? Like I do have to commit this, so let's do that. Let's get out of here. Let's just do git. Oh wait. First let me go to the right place. So yeah, let's git add this. And then let's try a commit. Update workflow. Not workflow. Update actions assets volume. Wait, we have to undo that though, because that's actually not where it's going now. Right? Ugh. Okay, add again. And then git commit update actions volume. Auto packing the repository and background for optimum performance. I've never seen that before. What is going on? That's interesting. I've never seen this. It's never done this before. Maybe because I use Git on Visual Studio, right? So it's probably done this before and I just didn't realize. Git help GC for manual housekeeping. Why is it writing? I only commit one thing, right? What is it doing right now? What are we writing? Auto packing in background. This usually happens if you're like writing a ton of stuff. I'm so confused. What is going on? Okay. Cannot spawn post commit, no such file or directory. No such file. Oh, wait, hold on. Did I specify the wrong directory? Anyways, we do know it. We do know at least it's doing something, so that's a start. Where? Okay, where is... Okay, I actually need to view this file, please. I don't know why it closed on me. Maybe I closed it by accident. Git T. Let's go back in here. And... Wait, wrong thing. We're looking at post commit. That's right. Git hooks, post commit. Okay. Oh, it's the, I forgot. I thought I removed that. Dang it. It's like, rip. Now it's too dark again. I really need to get a light. That'd be nice. Also, usually I don't stream this late either, so the sun shifting is usually not a problem when I'm streaming, but today it is because we get a longer stream than normal. But yeah, Okay, this is correct. So maybe I'll do the thing now. I just need to like have it do that again. So I need to like commit something. I'm just gonna remove that slash and then we will do it again and see what happens. And then do a commit. Well, we just did a commit. Cannot spawn. No such file or directory. It's still not doing it. Like, we did figure out it worked, right? Like, I'm pretty sure. I'm not crazy. It's not like it's a relative directory or anything. This is the actual directory. It works in here, right? Yeah, this is a valid command. It shouldn't be complaining. I don't understand. Okay, let's search for this real quick. Because it's not even saying like... It's not even saying something like the command failed, you know? So... Git cannot find the shell interpreter needed to run your hook script. Oh, like it doesn't know it's like a PowerShell script or something. Duh. So I need to do like... How do you do it for PowerShell? Can you do it for PowerShell? Is there a thing for PowerShell? Let me see. Or does it run as like a shell script? Like maybe it just runs as a shell script. I guess you would still use bin sh. I guess. I guess it just acts like an sh file in the end. Okay, let's try that one more time. I don't think that will do anything. Yeah. Let me do a slash here. And then do that. I'm gonna do an amend. That way I don't like keep committing this message over and over. Amend. Yes to amend, but doing so would make it empty. Wait, really? Did I not add? Git add. Doing so would make... Oh, because it matches the previous one. Allow empty, because then it will match again. That's right. So allow empty. Oh, can we just do that without an amend? No, that would make sense, right? Oh, okay, now it's asking for my password. Okay, so this is the password for the post commit. So now I need to see if this works on... So I'm gonna cancel it. I think it's committed, right? Yes. So I'm gonna try committing again, but on Visual Studio and see if it does anything interesting. Maybe I can just like reset. Let's just hard reset and then let's do it again. Cause that's fine. Like we can reset this a million times over. I don't really care. And then let's get rid of this. And then we will do this and amend. Actually, let's not amend because it's going to complain again. And I don't want to do it. Basically, I would have to do it the other way, right? I assume it just fails. Like, it doesn't even do anything. Because, like, we would need an interactive prompt and it probably just continues and does whatever. So, I don't... And, like, I see nothing in logs. We would have to, like, start another prompt and then like that prompts us. I think that's what we would have to do. So let's get another PowerShell like booted. Is it like PS? Oh, that's processes. PowerShell. Okay. Can we do that like start a new process? Start new PowerShell window in PowerShell. Start process PowerShell. Cool. So we need something like this, right? Okay. So, I'm going to make this a stopping point. I'll probably just finish up this like cleanup tonight on my own. But yeah, it's getting late. I do need to have some food, so I think I'm gonna call it here. But it looks like we've got like the basics sorted out. We've got the unit tests like written, half written. So we're gonna implement the others probably tomorrow. And yeah, everything's coming along nicely. It's just I've hit a little snag where I need some extra stuff that the unit tests depend on because it basically runs the game itself. So Yeah, we just have to handle that part, which means I have to transfer the assets over to my servers, just linking more stuff together to make the process work. So that's fun, but I'll work on that a little later, either tomorrow or later tonight, and then, yeah. But I'm definitely hungry, and it's about time to call it here, so it's definitely later than I usually stream. But for those of you that tuned in tonight, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and hope to catch you all later. Bye!